All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Futures Show. Folks, we are back in the studio with the bricks. I'm feeling all bricked up today. Here we go. It's Sunday, June 8th. It has been a long time, very long time, since we were in the studio. And I am very, 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 very excited to be back. It has been way too long. I do not enjoy being away from home. And home is not like what I mean by physical home, but rather home, which is the studio and being able to be live every single day and do what I got to do. And I appreciate everyone putting up with me over the past week. A lot of traveling, a lot of events. We were able to do the market open, I think, pretty much every single day. But we did miss the market close. So that is back to normal. Not going to be traveling for the next 3 months outside of the Miami meetup that I will give details on pretty soon, probably in the next week in June. But June and July, we are home. August, we're basically home as well, outside of me moving out. So that'll be a whole process that we document as well. But we are back for the market open, market close every single day. And I'm excited to be here. Very, very excited to be here. Thank you all for being here. Hopefully everyone had a good weekend. I am back. I'm energized. I slept for like 15 hours on Saturday after pretty much not sleeping all throughout. Well, actually, no, I did get some good sleep in the Airbnbs, even if it was 5-6 hours. But I definitely took some sleep after I got home. I got home at like 12 a.m. on Friday night, slept all through Saturday, and now I'm back. I'm excited. I'm ready to be here. Yes, I got a haircut, got a little bit of a clean shave. This clean shave will be a bad shave in like 3 days because my hair grows like crazy. But we are back, and I'm very, very excited. And so, yeah, we're back with the bricks, bro. So at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going to ring this thing. I know it's not a market open, but it's been too long. We got to ring this, especially to celebrate some of the milestones we had this week, because we had a bunch of different milestones, even if those stock prices have come back to normal. But we missed so many of the bell ringings, and so we will be ringing this at 8 p.m. when the market's open. I think the market's going to be flat, to be honest. We got a lot of things to talk about, by the way. A lot of Tesla stuff, a lot of Robinhood stuff, a lot of Palantir stuff, a lot of NVIDIA stuff, a lot of macro data. We got some new macro updates in the context of retail and what retail has been doing, which I'm going to be very excited to talk about and show, because I thought that some of this data was pretty damn bullish just in terms of where the market's going. We got some trade updates. We got a ton of different headlines that we'll go through. But when the market opens at 8 p.m., I think we're going to be relatively flat, because futures right here, they're barely moving. So yeah, they just turned negative. They were green. I don't think we're going to get too much of a big move, but we'll see. Some stocks, obviously like Robinhood, I think might be a little bit more volatile based on what happened on Friday that we'll talk about. And obviously Tesla's had a hell of a week with Elon and Trump drama. So we will see if any of that impacts Tesla stock as we get into the overnight markets as well. Sheldon said the bricks are fake. It's obvious wallpaper. You can see the seams. Sheldon, I don't know if you're new here, buddy, but that's just not true. That's, you're spreading FUD around my bricks. The Tesla community today has been accusing me of spreading FUD all day about Tesla because I had a post that went a little viral. I think you're doing the same as the Tesla community. You're accusing the bricks of being fake, and that's just FUD. That's fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And just to set the record straight, bricks are real, man. Bricks are real. Just saying, the bricks are real. So it's a real brick, bro. The bricks are real. Anyway, first of all, thank you everybody for being here. Super excited. Love doing this every single day, and we're going to get back to normal. Now, so we got 9 minutes until the market opens. Let's talk about Robinhood. I think that's a big thing we'll talk about, and then we'll get into all the different headlines that we got going on. I did have a little bit of a tweet go viral, which I will let you guys be the judge of if you think it's FUD, because the people that I respect in the Tesla community, like a Farzad, like a Sawyer, they engaged with the post pretty normally, and they were like, and they just responded to it. Whereas I think some of the hyper bulls said, Mitt's trying to short Tesla. And I'm like, dude, pointing out some of the headwinds around Tesla. We'll talk about it in a bit after the market opens for the overnight markets. I'll let you guys be the judge. But overall, outside of that, it is what it is. Tesla community is very passionate. And, you think Elon reposting a guy who's saying, I love FSD, and from New Jersey to Boston would be enough to get people to be like, oh, if Amit's critiquing Tesla, he's giving some objective analysis because he actually likes Tesla and he has a Tesla and he drives FSD. But no, it's like you're a FUD, you're a bear, you're shorting the stock. So it is what it is. Anyway, let's talk about Robinhood. Okay. So Friday was the craziest day I've ever experienced when it comes to the S&P 500. And it was one of those things where it was just like, dude, I cannot fathom how this happened, but it did indeed happen. The S&P 500 did not give a rebalance for the first time since 2022. You heard me right. The S&P did not rebalance for the first time in over 3 years. And I'm flabbergasted. I could not imagine that is how this was going to play out, but that is what happened. And, it was tough to deal with. Now, I don't really care necessarily about the stock, right? Like Robinhood could go back to 60, up to 80. It is what it is. But the fact that the S&P 500 committee did not give us an answer, and they had to tell Bloomberg, they had to tell a Bloomberg journalist 5 hours later that there is going to be no quarterly rebalance when it's supposed to come out at 5:15 Eastern every time, like it has for the past 5 years, is just insanity to me. I mean, hundreds of billions of dollars were on the line, not just on Hood, but on Trade Desk, AppLovin. AppLovin literally is a $100 billion company. I mean, there was so much money on the sidelines waiting and trading to see what was going to happen. And one of the most important institutions in finance just didn't even give us an update. Like, I cannot believe that, when people talk about decentralized finance and trying to have our own new infrastructure, like this is why, because you would think the S&P 500 committee, which controls the 500 companies in the United States of America that are the most powerful companies in the world, would put out an update that said, hey, no rebalance. It is what it is. I would still be annoyed, but it's like, I get it. Like, all right, you don't want to do a rebalance. That's fine. The fact that they said nothing, I think, was just insane. And, unfortunately, that's how this ended up playing out. And that's, I guess that's what the S&P committee decided. So the next rebalance we're going to have is in June, or sorry, not June. We just had June, September, and then December, right? Yeah, no, September. Yeah, September and December. Okay, so we have 2 more left for the year. So there's 2 more chances we get there. But if not, then it is what it is. It was just weird. And the other reason it's weird is because there are companies like Enphase and another one, CZAR. What's that? Caesar. They're worth $5 billion, and they're in the S&P 500, and their stocks are down like 30% year to date. So it's like, why? Like, why are they still included? But Robinhood or Trade Desk or AppLovin it was just weird. It was just very, very weird. So that was one part of what happened on Friday, and we were live trying to cover it. The other part that happened is, and this is the part I really do feel bad about, is that everyone was tweeting that Robinhood got into the S&P 500, right? I didn't pay attention to any of those tweets while I was live with all you guys. You guys didn't even pay attention to most of those tweets. But I use 2 accounts in particular that I know personally. I know they have an access for the Bloomberg terminal. Like, I know I've talked to these guys. They pay $25,000 a year for the terminal. When they tweeted, Robinhood got into the S&P 500 and the stock went to 80, and then all of you guys in the chat that also follow those accounts, and I know you explicitly follow those accounts because you literally copy and pasted the exact way that they tweeted it and you put it into the chat. That's when I was like, okay, boom, they got in. I didn't tweet it because I still want to see confirmation, but at least on the stream, I was like, okay, they got in, right? Stock's at 80, and the accounts that I trust, not the random mom and pop shop, the account that has 400,000 followers, tweeted that they got in because I know they have access to the terminal. Okay, they got in. Apparently, his response, because he messed up, obviously, because they didn't get in, was that Bloomberg said they got in, but Bloomberg didn't have a source for why they got in. And then Tanner as well. Shout out to Tanner. Tanner fell for it, just like me. So like, when you see a stock break 80 and then the accounts that you trust actually put out the information. I know I'm supposed to be an account that people trust, but I didn't put it out because I don't have access to a terminal. So I wanted to wait for the freaking press release. And also, just like when you put out a tweet that, hey, Robinhood got into the S&P 500 and you screenshot the press release, I just feel like the tweet looks cooler because like the S&P 500 committee is writing Robinhood on their website like that. So I genuinely just wanted to wait until we had the press release because I thought the tweet itself would just like, it would be cooler, to put the press release in the screenshot. That's what I did for Palantir. And that didn't happen, but I did trust other accounts. And unfortunately, it is what it is. So if anyone sent me a super chat at that time and you want your super chat back, I really do feel bad. So just hit me up on Twitter. I'll send you a Venmo or a PayPal and I'll send back whatever money you sent because it was annoying, dude. And I feel bad about it, but it's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, it's 40 minutes past 5. We're waiting for the update. We finally get the update from the sources that I trusted. Apparently, I don't even want to say I can't trust those sources because the terminal kind of screwed them. So it's not even their fault. It is the fault of the random people that said at freaking 5:20, oh, Robinhood got in. And that really started everyone thinking it. Those accounts, they ruined a little bit of their credibility because you just don't tweet that until you have any form of confirmation. I don't know what they use for because they definitely didn't use the terminal. I don't know what they use, but that got the rumor started. And then when the actual accounts that I trust posted it, that's when I thought it was legit, but obviously it wasn't legit. So it is what it is. He made a mistake. Shave one eyebrow. Do my eyebrows look good? A barber kind of worked on the eyebrows today. So, we got the eyebrows working okay. But yeah, look, I'm annoyed. It sucked. It was a crazy thing to go through. I think Tanner, Roy, and I could not believe that this happened. Literally, we could not believe this happened. And yeah, I'm pretty sure Vlad was pissed. I could imagine the Robinhood employees that are waiting for the update are just where's the update? And then 5 hours later at 8 p.m., they freaking report to Bloomberg, oh, there's no update. We're not doing any rebounds. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. And so, how was the flight? The flight was fine. I mean, I was in the middle seat though. I didn't pee for hours because I didn't want to. I didn't want to be mean to the person sitting next to me. So when I got out of that plane, bro, oh boy, I went straight to that bathroom at Newark Liberty. But yeah, flight was fine. It was just a bit annoying, dude. I couldn't imagine the S&P 500. Robinhood didn't have to get in. They could have picked other companies. There were a lot of other deserving candidates like AppLovin, TTD, IBKR, etc. But no rebounds to me was just what is going on, bro? What is going on? And so, yeah, unfortunately, it is what it is. But that's just how it played out. So is Robinhood going to drop some more when the market opens? Well, we got 1 minute until the futures open. We're going to be ringing the bell because it has been too long for us not ringing the bell. And we are going to see if the futures actually do open red, or if the futures open green. Well, sorry, Robinhood opens red or green. I mean, the futures already are red. So I think it's going to be relatively insignificant on the broader indices. But on Hood, I mean, look, it fell 6% as soon as the market opened, or as soon as the announcement didn't come through. I don't know. I would imagine it goes down, but maybe it recovers right here. But I would not be surprised in the next 30 seconds if we see below 70. We're at 70.21. We got to 80.87, dude. And then you get the Bloomberg account saying that we got in. It was just all right, finally we got in. And then unfortunately there was no rebounds. So wild Friday. It is what it is. And hopefully we get another shot soon. But this is what we got going on. And this is what the S&P committee, I guess, decided to do this time. All right, here we go. 8 p.m. The overnight markets are open. We are back. We are bricked up in the studio. And it is time to ring the bell. All right, cool. Overnight markets, Robinhood, $70.27. $70.27. Okay, that's not too bad. So we closed at 70.21. It's at 70.27. That's not too crazy. Roblox is up about 1%. IBKR is down a little bit. Reddit's down a little bit. Google's flat. Yeah, guys, we're not really getting some big moves. SoFi, we didn't even figure out about the freaking S&P 400, S&P 600. Nothing was rebalanced. We didn't even get a chance to see if SoFi could get into the 400, which they absolutely deserve to get in. And even that wasn't announced. I mean, it was just insanity, bro. The fact that they did zero rebalance, I could not have imagined that was going to be the case. But that's what ended up happening. Bitcoin right here, 105. Circle, they don't trade overnight. So they were up 7% on Friday, but they don't trade overnight. Nvidia's flat overnight. S&P's flat overnight. Tessie up about 0.56% overnight. It was up 4% on Friday. It's at 297 right now. So that's up a little bit. Palantir flat, down 0.02. Shopify down 0.019. Enphase is flat. Microsoft's flat. CrowdStrike's flat. Meta's flat. Archer's flat. Rocket Lab's flat. Yeah, we got nothing. We got nothing, folks. We have nothing. Let me open up Legend and see it as well. Yeah, relatively flat across the board. And this is what the futures look like on the indices. Outside of that, nothing moving. Nvidia 141, that's up 18 cents. SoFi 1413, that's down 11 cents. Palo Alto's flat. MicroStrategy's up a little bit. Grabs at 515. Alibaba's flat. S&P 20 cents. AppLovin, that one was down 5% on Friday, right? AppLovin right now. Oh no, AppLovin's actually down another 5%. That's weird. Actually, no, that's wrong. That 399 is from Friday. Okay, so it's AppLovin's flat as well. Hood, where is Hood? Hood is, yeah, not really moving. Hood 70.45. Hood is actually up from where it was before. It closed at 70.21. Now it's at 70.5. So yeah, I don't think we're really going to get too much of an exciting futures market right here. Rocket Lab actually did get some love because the rumor, oh wow, Rocket Lab's at 30. There you go. The rumor is from the Washington Post, we'll talk about that SpaceX is losing some contracts potentially, or that government officials have already started inquiring about other government contractors for space, including ASTS, Rocket Lab, etc. I don't know how how real those rumors are, but the Washington Post did report it. Granted, Bezos owns the Washington Post, and they mentioned Blue Origin. Bezos owns Blue Origin, so you never know. We gotta be a little skeptical, at least just until we get the actual truth. But Rocket Lab is probably pumping on that as well if SpaceX gets a little bit less momentum in the government, which I don't think is going to happen, but we'll see. HIMS, yes. Where's HIMS? HIMS right here is up about 0.25%. Rocket Lab's at 30.50, at least on Robinhood Legends. Sometimes there's different prices from other places, but it's at 30.50. HIMS right here, 56.49, basically flat. ASTS is flat. Celsius is flat. Again, the S&P, really, it's a boring overnight market, and it kind of looked like that when we saw the futures. Futures aren't moving either, so it's going to be hard to see stocks moving as well. Broadcom, which had a good earnings last week, but did get a 5% hit. Broadcom right here is basically flat as well, 0.16% on Broadcom. Oscar Health, which I still need to look into. That stock is at 16. Is that up actually overnight? That is, yeah, that's up 4%. That's up 4% overnight. That one's actually moving a little bit. All right, so pretty much a relatively normal overnight markets that are not going to be moving in too many directions. And we'll go through some macro stuff to see what we got dealing with this week. Dude, this week's going to be crazy. Robinhood again, 70.85. This week is going to be wild in terms of all the macro stuff that we are looking at. We got a lot of data coming up. I think Jay Powell's speaking, if I'm not wrong, at some event. If not, then he's definitely speaking the week after with the FOMC meeting on June 18th. And we're going to be looking at all the different types of data we got. So we got Atlanta Fed on Monday. They already said we're going to grow 3.8%. Let's see if they increase that. We got May CPI data on Wednesday. We have a 10-year note auction, which all of us, I know it's the most boring thing in the world to care about bond auctions, but like, I think all of us have become a little bit more intrigued about what's going on in the credit markets because we kind of have to, given we have interest rates where they are. So we're going to care about that 10-year note auction. May PPI inflation data. We got Michigan expectations for on Friday for inflation and consumer sentiment. And this is the last week of inflation data before the June Fed meeting, which is obviously going to be very important going into the essentially FOMC meeting, which is going to be right before earnings start again. And then we're going to have to figure out, hey, what ends up happening with the rest of Q2, which basically has a month left until it's over. Less than a month left when it comes to June. So there you go. Oh, the Apple event is this week. That's a big one. Yeah, June 9th. Is it tomorrow? Apple WWDC? It is. I think it's tomorrow, if I'm not wrong. I don't even know if I could stream it, dude. Yeah, Monday, tomorrow. All right, I'm going to try to stream it, but Apple usually shuts you down whenever you try to stream it. Tomorrow, 1. Okay, last time they shut down my channel when I tried to stream it. So I'll try again, and hopefully it works, but they usually don't like when we stream. Oh, also, yeah, how could I forget, dude? I kind of thought this was further away. So this was the big news that I don't think we covered on the market close very briefly because we had all the Robinhood stuff going on. But yeah, we officially have details for the second set of trade talks between China and the US. And that it's going to be on June 9th in London. Lutnick, Greer, and Besant will represent the USA. I totally forgot. For some reason, I felt like June 9th was far away. And it's not. It's like tomorrow, which, again, time is moving by so quickly. But we got London tomorrow. Lutnick, Greer, and Besant are probably on a private jet right now going to meet the Chinese. And any updates from that, I think it'll take about 2 days before we get the actual details. Maybe we get the details by the end of the day. That could be very bullish for markets. And actually, markets were actually pumping when this news came out. At around 237, and I think we got right back to 6,000 on the S&P after we regained it, or after we dropped below it for a little bit, because this is bullish. Obviously, if we get some of those, China progressions, then this is going to be a good thing, but it might take a little bit of time before we ultimately find out if that happens. All right, cool. So that's what we got in the context of the futures. Let's get through some topics here. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. I think let's do Tessie. Let's discuss Tesla and what's going on with Tessie. First of all, Elon and Trump. All right, so let's do a kind of state of the union here. It's been, 3 days, 72 hours since Elon dropped a nuke on Trump. I'll give you some updates in terms of what has happened over the past 72 hours, but how are you guys feeling? How are you guys feeling about what has happened? I have a lot of mixed opinions on this, but I think it's important to analyze it. Number one, the biggest update is that Elon deleted all of his tweets. If anyone didn't know that, he deleted the Epstein tweet. He deleted a bunch of tweets where he was like putting out some memes about Trump, all this stuff. So he kind of deleted everything. He deleted his responses to other people that were putting out tweets. And I think Farzad had a really good response on this as well. Farzad was a bit annoyed, and Farzad is a hyper Tesla bull, and he was a bit annoyed that Elon went about it this way. And what way did Elon go about it with? I mean, dude, you can't accuse the guy of being on the Epstein list, which is, one of the most egregious things that you can accuse someone. We all know what Elon's implying here. He's not saying, oh, he was just on the list to be on the list. It's like, no, we all know what Elon's saying implicitly. And then be like, yeah, not anymore. I'm deleting it. The only conclusion it can lead you to, and I'm a big Elon fan. For anyone who thinks I just tweet positively about Elon to get his attention, I mean, this weekend gives you a perfect example that no, I am pretty objective on Tesla. And I'm sure if he saw my tweet, which got like 500,000 views, that he probably wasn't a fan of seeing my tweet. But just because he reposted me doesn't mean that I'm not going to objectively analyze Tesla, because I'm not doing this just to make Elon happy, right? Like I care about Elon, and I think my post was pretty objective about what's going on in Tesla. But I think we all have to be objective right here. And I think Farzad was pretty objective over the weekend as well. You can't delete something that is so egregious and then expect everything to be okay and not assume that people won't think you're on drugs. Like, it's just that simple, dude. Like, something's going on with Elon. I'm not saying he's on drugs, but one of the easiest assumptions to run to is, hey, is this guy on his drugs? Is this guy running on a manic fume where he thinks he's invincible? He can say anything he wants. He can go toe to toe with the president of the United States. Or maybe it's not drugs, maybe it's ego, right? Like, is his ego so large where he thinks, and Steve made a good point about this, the MAGA movement, in my opinion, and I think you guys would agree with this, is much bigger than the Tesla movement. What do I mean by that? The MAGA movement has so many tentacles to it in terms of how people think about what it means to support Trump and what it means to make America great again. Tesla right here, 297 in the overnight markets. The Tesla movement is a bunch of people that made a crap ton of money on Tesla and have been, cheering on the name for the past 5 years because they 20x on Tesla since 2019. And they are very happy with their gains, even if the stock's been dead money for the past 5 years, and they want to keep their gains. And they've gotten people who didn't get a 20x on Tesla, like myself, to start buying into the story, understanding the vision, yada, yada, all that stuff. That is a very small percentage of America. Like, Trump got 80 million votes or whatever? I would say, I don't know, dude. In America, maybe there's maybe 10 million people, and that's being kind of generous, that really love everything that Elon does. Now, internationally, it's probably more, right? Elon's probably, I would say it's closer to 40, 50 million across the entire world that are bought into Elon and his mission, all that stuff. But in America, you're not going to beat the MAGA movement with the Tesla movement. Like, the MAGA movement is different, bro. Like, these people will take a bullet for Trump, like literally. And part of the reason they think of that is because Trump quite literally took a bullet for them to an extent. So from that perspective, I think that Elon going toe to toe with the president was just weird. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. And it made me question what's going on and how are these dynamics playing out. JD Vance was asked about this on the Theo Vaughn podcast, and he had some things to say about Mr. Elon Musk. I'm going to play this right here. He did the podcast the day of this whole thing going down. And he was trying to trying to play both sides. And this is ultimately what he said about Elon Musk.
I think that Elon, he's an incredible entrepreneur. He's actually done I think Doge was really good. This sort of effort to root out waste, fraud, and abuse in our country is really good. And look, man, I'm always going to be loyal to the president, and I hope that eventually Elon kind of comes back into the fold. Maybe that's not possible now because he's gone so nuclear.
Well, his feelings
but I hope it is.
Feels like his feelings are hurt. Why though? Do you know why?
Yeah, I mean, so look, I think number one, Elon's new to politics, right? So his businesses are being attacked nonstop. They're literally like firebombing some of his cars. And by the way, we're looking into a lot of this stuff. I mean, some of that stuff we're looking into is an act of terrorism. Yeah. At the Department of Justice, because I think it is an act of terrorism. So I think part of it is this guy got into politics and has suffered a lot for it. But I mean, and I get the frustration there, and I get the frustration that, I mean, look, Congress, you got the spending bill, but the main purpose of the bill is not actually spending or cutting spending, though it does cut a lot of spending. Mm-hmm. The main purpose of the bill is to prevent the biggest tax increase. But I understand, it's a good bill. It's not a perfect bill. Like the process in DC, if you're a business leader, you probably get frustrated with that process because it's more bureaucratic. It's more slow moving.
Yeah.
So I think there's just some frustrations there.
All right. So you got JD Vance, who's basically saying, hey, I'm not going against Trump. He quite literally picked Trump's side, and that's the smart thing to do, because what does he get from supporting Elon? Number two, and here's the question for everyone else right here, and I'm going to put a poll right here in the chat on kind of what is your dip buy price on Tesla, because that gets into our next discussion. So what is your dip buy price if you are buying the dip? One question is not buying the dip. The other one, let's do 270. Let's do, okay, I was going to do more, but let's just do that. Not buying the dip or 270 or below. Let's do that. I was going to do some more choices, but let's just do those two. Look, here's the thing. And you can put other prices in the chat. Trump gets nothing from Elon anymore. I've kind of concluded that over the weekend. Trump gets nothing from Elon. Elon gets everything from Trump. Trump controls regulations. He controls SpaceX contracts. He obviously controls the ability for Tesla to streamline their robotaxi FSD stuff throughout the entire country. What does he get from Elon? He's already in the White House. He's already the most powerful guy in the world. Elon already gave him $350 million in campaign donations to be able to get to where he is right now. What does he get from Elon? Like support? Like the MAGA is not turning on Trump because of Elon. If you're MAGA, you've accepted Elon into your worldview, but you are not leaving Trump for Elon. The people that he's going to lose are people that were independent or Democrats that love Elon so much. And because Elon said to vote for Trump, they said, okay, I'll give Trump a chance because they love Elon so much. They're going to leave if Elon creates a legitimate rift between him and Trump, which I also think they're going to make up. It might not happen anytime soon, but I do think it'll happen eventually. But the people that love Trump, they're not going to Elon. Well, what do they get from Elon? They don't even like Tesla. They don't even like electric vehicles. They don't believe in climate change. They don't care about self-drive. They don't get, like, this was never Elon's base. His base was always Democrats. He isolated them. Trump tried to get his base to buy into the Tesla vision, and we're given the deliveries. That's obviously not really happened. And now he's isolating them if this rift continues. And so from that perspective, I think Trump wins here. As long as Trump is not on the Epstein list, which, after thinking about it over the past couple of days, look, I don't know. But, I think Steve did have a good point that, look, if the Democrats knew he was on the list, they probably would have put it out. Now, maybe the Democrats are trying to stop the list from coming out because they're afraid of the other Democrats that are on the list. But I don't know, dude. I feel like there's a world in which that would have been leaked by now, given how much the media has hated this guy. So if he's not on the list, then I don't think Elon wins this battle. I really don't. 62% of you said not buying the dip. 38% of you said you're waiting for 270. I see a lot of prices in the chat right here that are way below 270. I see 200 from Brad. I see some 90s. Mike says 100. Marvy says 270 is nothing. The dip is under 200. So because of what all of you guys are saying, this is what I tweeted last night. And I don't know, dude. Either the Tesla community is just like, they hate anything that's trying to objectively analyze Tesla, or it's something else right here. But this is essentially what I posted. I says, it seems like sentiment on Tesla is changing right now, which, by the way, that's the biggest thing people had an issue with on this tweet, was that Amit says the sentiment is changing. And I'm like, guys, the stock went from 370 to 295. There is no question the sentiment, $300 billion of value has been lost in the company. What do you mean the sentiment hasn't changed? By the way, this is a retail heavy stock, and I have another stat in a couple of seconds that I'm going to show you guys to prove how retail heavy it is. I don't think this was all institution selling. This was a lot of retail that said, you know what, I'm fed up with this shit. And it feels like they're selling as well. I spoke to multiple people on Saturday who said they're liquidating everything on Monday. What are we thinking? Is the Trump-Elon debacle actually a reason to sell, even if you want to get back in a lower price? Or is this short-term noise that really won't matter soon? I don't see how this post is negative. This post is literally saying, hey, what do you think? It's like opening up a question to the world. And then I said, here are 4 headwinds. Bad European sales. Very bad. We all know that's the case. Number 2, they did 0% APR by the Cybertruck. That does not seem bullish. The Cybertruck, one could argue, objectively has been a failure. It has not been the Ford F-150 replacement that people have thought. And the fact that they have to do 0% APR proves that they need more demand. It's like, that's pretty obvious. EV tax credit is going away. This thing I'm the most scared about, because I wouldn't have bought my Tesla without that $7,500 tax credit. And then 3 or 4, Trump might gut any self-driving regulations. Now, this one, I put it there because that is a headwind, because Trump is petty. I would hope Trump is not actually going to do that, because I think that would be a little intense if he singles out Tesla like that. So I hope that's not the case. But nonetheless, it's a headwind. It's a freaking headwind. And the idea that to say that's not a headwind is insanity. And then I said the tailwinds are obviously FSD and humanoids, again, balancing out the post by saying, hey, here are some headwinds, here are some tailwinds. But objectively, FSD and humanoids are years away. Even Elon himself said it is going to take till the end of 2026, maybe, to have a couple 100,000 cars in the robotaxi network to scale. Humanoids are not coming anytime soon. We all know this. And then even if, robotaxis do scale, the question is, are they going to be profitable? And the Cybercab is not even starting production until the second half of 2026. So what are we talking about here? Like, what are we like? So the idea that, this post was spreading FUD or whatever, it was fascinating to me how much the psychology in the Tesla community was so against like asking these basic questions. But I think, and if you go into that post on Twitter, there's like 700 comments. I'm telling you guys, if you actually take the time to read through those comments, it's 50-50. And these are OG Tesla bulls that are just like, I'm feeling really upset right here. And the reason I'm feeling really upset is because now my thesis is changing. For example, here's a guy who is a big in Palantir community, Dr. Dave. This guy, awesome guy on Twitter, has been buying. He's a heavy Palantir Tesla bull. He says, hey, I admit I have to redo my entire thesis. My thesis was that basically Elon would benefit the most from the Trump administration. The number one job of a CEO is to protect shareholder value. The number one job of the board of directors is to make sure the CEO does his job. This is a guy who has, I think he has like close to 10,000 shares of Tesla. And so the idea that someone like this, and there's many other people like that, are saying, dude, this is kind of annoying right now, I think points to the fact that there is a mix of sentiment in the community. Now, having said that, what's my opinion on this? My opinion, I'm saying this right now, I'm going to start buying the dip at 250. I'm going to start buying I'm going to slowly buy, and I know people probably hate hearing that, but I do think that you have to be a little humble to recognize that Tesla is Tesla. The irony in this post is that all these people think I hate Tesla. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to buy the freaking dip on this company. But I think 250 is where I'll start. And if it gets there, I don't even know if it gets there. And then 220 is when I go heavier because that's the April low or May low, March low. And then below that, I hope 175 is max pain, but I don't know how that's going to play out. All I know is I want to own more of Tesla. I just also don't want to be sitting on dead money. And the past 5 years has basically been sitting on dead money. So is 250 too high? Probably. But I also, I don't want to be cocky enough to be like, oh, well, I'm going to wait until below 200 because I don't know if we're going to get that, especially because we are still in a bull market. And we're going to talk about a lot of stats that kind of prove that we're still in a bull market. And just because Elon and Trump had a rift, that doesn't mean that Tesla has to go back below 100. Now, granted, the earnings in Q2, I think, are going to suck. I really do think Q2 is going to suck. Like I don't, but then again, Q1 sucked and Tesla rallied. So I don't know. It's really hard to time it. But I do think that 250 and 225 are my spots to add. And then if it goes below that, we'll see how it goes from there. Wolfpack says, I've been selling cash trip puts for a premium at low levels. Yeah, I don't hate that either. You just got to be ready to accept those puts being assigned to you if you do want to end up owning the name. And again, Tesla could go to freaking 300 tomorrow. And, this whole Trump Elon thing might not even matter. But to say that sentiment hasn't shifted is like, I just think objectively false. And like they were saying, oh, well, do you think sentiment shifted on Palantir? Yes, 1000% yes. We'll talk more about Palantir, but absolutely the sentiment has shifted on Palantir, not in the context of the stock, but in the context of the brand. Palantir right here, 128.19. There were 5 videos on YouTube I saw this weekend. All of them, 50 to 100,000 views. I like the algorithm on YouTube is obviously suggesting this Palantir content, not about, hey, should you buy the dip? Hey, what does Palantir's teletracking partnership mean that Karp talked about on CNBC? No, it's Palantir's the most evil company in the world. They're going to steal your data. They're going to surveil you and they're going to eventually find you and kill you. This is what these videos are implying. And so has the sentiment changed on Palantir? Absolutely. This brand is starting to take a bit of a hit and it's really frustrating as someone who, has been covering the company for a long time, and we'll talk more about it later, but I would be lying if I said sentiment hasn't changed. And it has. And now it hasn't really affected the stock yet. But to say the sentiment didn't shift when Elon Musk said Trump is on the Epstein list, we saw it at the stock that day. And I think we also saw it anecdotally with people just saying, dude, I'm so tired of this shit. I am so tired of this shit. And so, those are my thoughts about Tesla right now. But that's what we've got going on. And I think this week's going to be really important. This week's going to be really important to kind of see how this plays out. Let's hear Trump actually talk about Elon for a bit. He was asked some questions about Elon. Here is what he had to say. And here's how Mr. Trump is thinking of Elon as well.
And a good way to save money would be to cancel some of Musk's contracts. How seriously are you considering that?
We'll take a look at everything. I look at everything. He's got a lot of money. He gets a lot of subsidy. So we'll take a look at that. Only if it's fair. Only if it's fair for him and for the country, I would certainly think about it. Yeah, but it has to be fair.
Mr. President, would you consider reopening investment?
Someone asked, was there a reason there was no Olin pod this week? Literally, Jason Calacan has said he didn't want to talk on the issue. Like, The most influential business and technology podcasts could not figure out how to talk about this issue because that's how explosive this was. Some of them support Trump. All of them support Elon. A lot of them are friends with Elon and Trump. They kind of don't want to pick sides. I mean, like, it's a hard thing to discuss. And it kind of goes to my point that sentiment around the overall narrative of this is shifting. The question is, does it impact the stock? But to say that there's no narrative shift or to say that it's a hard conversation to have is just, it's ludicrous, right? But this is a really tough thing that's happening right now. And ultimately, we're going to have to see how Tesla reacts to this over the coming weeks.
Investigations into his companies. There are a bunch of
I
investigations.
didn't know that they had any, but they had them. I would just let them speak for themselves. I had no idea. Excuse me. I have no idea whether or not they had investigations.
And what's your view on Elon Musk as of today? I mean, have you heard from him at all? Is your
Honestly,
team?
I've been so busy working on China, working on Russia, working on Iran, working on so many. I'm not thinking about Elon. I just wish him well. He's,
On the China talks.
So on Mr. Musk contracts, do you feel like the U.S. can survive without them? Obviously, you contribute a lot when it comes to defense and space, and that relationship has been important for quite some time.
The U.S. can survive without almost anybody,
And
except me.
did you have any concerns about his drug use when he was working for you?
I don't want to comment on his drug use. I don't know. I don't know what his status is. I read an article in the New York Times. I thought it was, frankly, it sounded very unfair to me.
You said earlier today that Mr. Musk had a problem. What did you mean by that? And did you misjudge him?
I don't want to talk about problems. I think that I think the United States had problems, and if you look at the numbers today, the numbers were unbelievable. The numbers were incredible. The numbers that came up today, the stock market went way up. The country's doing really well. Almost, I think, in a very short period of time, you're going to be saying doing better than it's ever done before. We have hundreds of plants coming in, a lot of jobs are being created. That's what happened this morning. You saw the jobs, and the nice part, they're not government jobs. They're jobs of people coming in and doing other things, including the leisure, hotel and leisures. Good stuff. A lot of good things are happening with our country. We're taking in billions of dollars of tariff money. The money is pouring in. And
so that's pretty much what Trump said. I mean, as you can see, he obviously shifted the conversation around Elon and, all the accusations Elon had to the economy and to his agenda. Here's two perspectives here. Number one, Trump could be shifting Trump could be not putting fuel to this whole Elon debate, basically saying, look, I wish him well. That's not something Trump does, right? Trump tends to be petty. So the fact that he said, I wish him well, one could argue, hey, Elon really has dirt on him. Elon has a ton of dirt. One could say, hey, Elon has dirt and Trump doesn't want to piss him off. Trump already pissed him off enough and now he's moving on. So that's one perspective. The other perspective, which I think is the more reasonable perspective, is Trump genuinely does not want to be in a debate or a public clash with the world's richest man, especially because he knows that just fuels the media narratives about how they're covering the administration. And he's just like, you know what, screw it. I wish Elon well, but unfortunately the relationship didn't work out and I'm moving on from here. Now, again, remember, why didn't the relationship work out? Two things. Doge was stopping the big, beautiful bill from being able to meaningfully get the spending that Trump wanted to get out there in the world. That was the first thing that really pissed off Elon. Number two, and this part I agree with Elon 100%. Jared Isaacson, I think that's the guy's name. Jared Isaacson was ready to be the next head of NASA. I think head of NASA was the role. And Elon wanted him to be the guy because Elon, and I genuinely believe that Elon wants to go to Mars. Elon, quite frankly, doesn't care about all this. He thinks humanity is doomed and he wants to go to Mars. And he needs someone on his side, Isaacman, that could actually help him get there. And he knew Jared was the guy. The Trump administration did a ton of due diligence on Jared. It took them a little bit too long to do this due diligence, but they found out he was a Democrat or that he supported Democrats. And some stupid person in the Trump White House was like, hey, we should not let this guy be the head of NASA because he has Democratic affiliations. Like that. This, from the interviews I've seen of Jared, he seems to be a pretty objective guy. I don't think he's some super left-wing lunatic. I don't think he's some super hard right-winger. I think you need someone who's objective, analytical, and logical when it comes to NASA. And Elon obviously wanted him because he's his good friend, but Elon knows that this guy would probably be mission aligned to get to Mars, which is Elon's, I think, actual goal before he dies. And when Trump pulled the plug on that, I think that's when Elon really got pissed. That's when he really got pissed. So the big, beautiful bill, he's definitely pissed about that. The Isaacman thing, I think that really pissed him off. But the part where I am confused and where every Tesla bull is confused as well is like, why did he go so nuclear? Like, why? What is it? What is so bad about like the stuff that's happening right now? Because like, yeah, you don't get your NASA guy. Okay, cool. Yeah, the country's going to keep spending money. Okay, cool. Like the country's going to keep, like, maybe we're in a debt spiral. It is what it is. But then Elon said 2 weeks ago, he's focused on GDP growth. And like, I was like, okay, boom. Everyone's excited. That's why Tesla got back up to 370, because it's like Elon's back. He's focused on robots, focused on FSD. He's ready to grow GDP by 10%. He doesn't care. He's focused on productivity, AI, etc. How in 2 weeks does that flip all of a sudden to, I hate you, Trump, you're on the Epstein list? It's just weird, right? It's just freaking weird. Farzad says right here, the Jared thing is insane. Between that and the debt, Trump administration has lost me a lot. Farzad is someone who voted for the Trump administration because of Elon Musk and because of like buying into Elon's vision. Again, Farzad is the classic example of someone who has not traditionally been a Republican. He's been an independent, but he believed in Elon's vision, not only because he's obviously covered Elon for like the past decade, but also because like Elon's a pretty inspiring guy. You could buy into the vision of what Elon's talking about. And if Elon's saying, hey, Trump is the guy to help get this agenda across, he can get people who believe in him to vote for Trump. But when you take away the Jared Isaacman nomination, and then you have this massive debt spending bill, that can lose a lot of voters. And then Farzad's second comment right here, Elon also acted like a total idiot, obviously insanely stressed. This is what I think is what the major Tesla bulls are dealing with this weekend. And I think Farzad is emblematic of that. Farzad is one of the most objective people I know in the context of Tesla. Yes, he loves Tesla, but he, from the countless podcasts I've heard of him talking about Tesla, can critique it as well. And he's not worried about his brand going down like a lot of these Tesla wannabe influencers that think they need to like goo goo gaga over everything Elon says in order to like gain a following. Like, you can also critique the guy. And the fact that Farzad is saying right here, Elon acted like a total idiot, I think all of us can agree. Saying the president is on the Epstein list with zero evidence to back that up and accusing him of messing with little kids, I mean, that's a tad too far. And either he's on drugs or he's too stressed or whatever the reason is, it was not a good thing. It was just not a good thing. And so, look, from that perspective, I think that's what the confusion that's going on in the Tesla community right now. And it's not even about the stock. It's about like, hey, where does this go? Where does this story go at the end of the day? How does it get resolved? Do they make up? Trump said to NBC News on Saturday morning, he has no interest in making up with Elon. And does Elon find a way to kind of resolve this because it might have too much damage to his company? This is what Trump said on Saturday. He said, I assume my relationship with Elon is over. I have more important things to do than talk with Elon, which honestly, that's the right route for Trump to go. I mean, he has way more important things than to stress about Elon. Again, what does Trump get from Elon outside of a person like Farzad that could vote for him? But the election's already over. So, and Trump can't run again. So like, there really isn't much to get from Elon at this point. Elon will face serious repercussions if he finances the Democrats. Trump was basically saying, hey, it's not going to be good for him if he goes the Democratic route. And then third, on the Epstein stuff, he said the Epstein allegations are old news. Even Epstein's lawyer said I had nothing to do with it. It's old news. And then Elon deleted on Saturday morning all this posts about accusing Trump of, being on the Epstein list. So I don't know, bro. This is the most confused time I think most people have been in the context of Tesla. And ironically, I kind of don't think this takes the stock down to. I mean, a lot of people are. And so my post did not say Tesla's going below 200. My post was like, hey, when do you buy the dip? A lot of people are saying that it's going below 200. I don't think that's happening. Even with the bad Q2, I think there's too much bullish momentum around Robotaxi, et cetera. Now, granted, Robotaxi is supposed to launch in 4 days, and there's been no announcement. Has anyone seen the announcement? Has anyone seen like an invitation? There hasn't been any of that. So you got some people that are also questioning, wait a second, are we actually getting a Robotaxi in 4 days? Like, is it happening or not? And if that doesn't happen, that's where I think Tesla could take like a 10-15% hit from these levels if Robotaxi is delayed even further. But again, my strategy, just to be transparent, 250 is when I start buying, and then 220 I buy more aggressively, and then below 200 it is what it is. And then we go from there. As far as Farzad says, very weirdly complex situation. I mean, the fact that the All In podcast could not do a podcast this weekend, to me, just shows how complex this is. Jay Cal hates Trump. He probably loves that Elon's doing this and separating himself. Chamath and Sachs love Trump, and they've been rooting for Trump, but they also, I mean, they love Elon. And so if I had to guess, Jay Cal will pick Elon. Chamath and Sachs, I don't think they pick Elon over Trump. I think they have to, like, Chamath literally went on a rant about how much the Trump administration finally talks to him, and he gave so much money to the Democrats, they never invited him to a dinner, yada, yada. I don't think he ruins that relationship. Sachs is the crypto AI czar in the Trump administration. I don't think he ruins that relationship. And then Friedberg is more objective about it. Friedberg probably hates the fact that they're both beefing. And if he had to side with one, I'm pretty sure he would side with Elon, just like Jake Howe. So you got the most influential business technology podcast in the world that doesn't know how to speak about this topic because there's too many political affiliations back and forth that potentially could be ruined based on what they say. And, you know, that's the craziness of how we're navigating all of this right now. But it's happening. And I think we just have to figure out how to see this play out over the coming weeks and what Elon's going to do about it as well. David, thanks for the $5 super chat. Tesla core business is down, even with the future robots. As an investor, no one else ever needs to deal with this type of stuff other than with Tesla. Yeah, look, and Palantir community's starting to deal with it, right? We'll talk more about Palantir in a second, but this is the first challenge, I think, for Palantir since the stock was $6 to $8 for basically 18 months of purgatory. This is the first time we're really dealing with a challenge, and that challenge is a brand media challenge that, quite frankly, I thought we wouldn't have to deal with ever since, 2017 and all the media headlines kind of died out, but now it's back. And so we have to deal with that. So not only is Tesla's core business down, but you got to deal with these random headlines as well. And it's just hard, dude. Like, the stock is expensive. Like, there's no denying the stock is expensive. And it's running on hopes and dreams of FSD and Optimus, which are real ideas and products that if you're buying into for the next 10 years, then who cares what price you're paying? But if you want to see some level of return in the short term and get a good entry price, like, it really does matter kind of how those narratives affect the bottom line in the context of how Elon's also running the company. JS, thanks for the $7 super chat. Tesla bulls seem to think it's a winner take all in autonomy and robots, and they downplay all the competition. Amazon making moves in robotics quietly as well. Yeah, I agree. I mean, even, Figure, I showed you guys this on Friday. I think Brett posted the video. It's an hour-long video. Or maybe, no, I don't think I showed you guys this. This was on, yeah, I didn't show you. This was Saturday, bro. This was yesterday. I mean, look at this, bro. This is crazy. This is a robot for the next 60 minutes that is doing labor. And it's quite incredible to see this because there was no fluff, there's no shiny lights, nothing. It's 60 minutes, anyone can go watch it. And it's a robot that is one day going to replace a UPS worker or an Amazon worker or a FedEx worker, whatever it may be, in organizing packages. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, this is nothing. This is just like a little robot. I think those people are undermining how serious this is because this is the worst it's ever going to be. And this is bullish for Tesla too, which is the other thing that people found my Figure interview that I did with Brett. I did invest in Figure in the Series B, and people are like, oh, Amit's saying sentiment's bad about Tesla because he's a Figure investor. I'm like, dude, like the only way for Figure to get to $1 trillion and make my investment really worthwhile is if bots as a concept succeed, which means Tesla's got to win, Figure's got to win, Eptronic's got to win, Nvidia's got to win, there needs to be a market developed for this. That's the only way I make any money off Figure at the end of the day. So like it just shows it's not a zero-sum game. It's not a winner takes all. There's going to be tons and tons of demand. This is a $100 trillion market when we talk about global GDP. Or global labor as a percentage of global GDP. And the idea that Tesla's going to win everything or Figure's going to win anything is stupid. So this is the world we're living in right now. But one of the things about Figure is that they have a CEO, Brett Adcock, who is spending every single day in the office. He's not getting involved in politics. He's just focused on getting Tesla's not put out anything like this. And I think eventually Tesla will, right? And now the head of Tesla, Optimus, did leave on Friday. I don't know if that's that big of a deal, but that was a headline that is getting people to feel a little bit bearish as well about the overall Optimus thesis. But nonetheless, the point is that inevitably this is going to be a massive market for everyone. Tesla right here, 296, Palantir 128, Robinhood 7160. And Robinhood's actually up. It was at 70.27. Now it's at 71. But overall, this is a big TAM. It's an age of abundance. And I think Tesla investors are pissed off because they know how amazing the opportunity is, but they also have to deal with what's going on with Elon. And again, my perspective is I believe in Tesla, so I will be buying the dip if we get a substantial one, but I don't think we have to. But I also think we can't discount the fact that there is a bit of a sentiment change right here. And if people are just like, oh, there's never a sentiment change, the sentiment's fine, everything's great, like just hold on to your shares, like that's fine. But if you want to be a little objective, you can say, hey, Elon kind of messed up here. He really did mess up here by accusing the president of this and creating such a big rift. And again, for what? Like this bill is going to pass, by the way. It's going to pass. And Elon, as much as he wants to start a third party or whatever, this bill will get passed. And there's nothing he can really do about it because there's too much support for it from the Republican Party. Maybe it's going to pass with some modifications, but it's going to pass. And then there's going to be a new NASA chief. So like, and he's going to have to get along with that new NASA guy, even if it's not Jared, because he's going to want to get SpaceX contracts. So the idea that he would ruin all of this goodwill that he's built up with Republicans and with Trump, for what? For a tweet that he ended up deleting a day later? Like, it just makes you question what is going on. That doesn't mean you have to sell your Tesla. It doesn't mean you get out of the stock. That doesn't mean the stock's going to zero. But it does mean that, hey, there is some stuff to analyze right here. And I think that's important. Farzad said Tesla will have competition the same way Nvidia does today. They don't really. Yeah. Look, I mean, it's gonna be a market where multiple entrants are gonna try to find the best AI to make sense of the physical manifestation of robots. And I don't know if Tesla's ahead or if Figure's ahead. I know that Figure has put out a lot more content than Tesla on this, but I'm sure Tesla's working on it. And I just think there's going to be a lot of different players that compete. But in order to compete, you got to be ruthless and you got to be out there and you got to be working. And I think Tesla shareholders are seeing that Elon's, not necessarily doing that at the moment. He's tweeting about Trump being on the Epstein list. I mean, it's just like, if you're a Tesla shareholder and you saw that tweet and you didn't think for 1 second that there was a single problem with it, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. And I don't think that's even being bearish. That's just being like it's okay. It's like I remember I critiqued Karp a couple months ago when he did this keynote. And, usually I'm the guy who's a fan of Karp's philosophy. I'm the guy who's defending Karp when he starts ranting. This one keynote he did was just horrible, bro. Like, he was ranting to the point where he was ranting about the philosophical ranting and trying to get into the nuances of the philosophy. And even I'm not a philosophy PhD or anything, but I tend to know more about philosophy than the average person just because I studied it in high school and college. Even I was like, dude, what are you saying, bro? I can't even. And after while I was reacting to it live, I think this was back in February. I was like, yeah, guys, I don't really know what Karp said right there. Like, this was just not a good performance. It's okay to critique people, right? It's okay. Like, if you're going to have an investment, you have to do these types of critiques. And so zero critiques on Elon, I think, is just, I don't know. I think it just doesn't make that much sense. But nonetheless, Sniper, thank you for the $2 super chat. This too shall pass. I'm buying more Tesla. I do think this too shall pass. It's just a question of kind of how it plays out in the short term, and then eventually over the next 6 months. It's on the same level as Private at 420, the Thailand cave diver, pot on Rogan, except it's the president. Yeah, dude, that's such a good point. It's like when he smoked pot on Rogan, I remember 2018, I was in my college dorm room. I was watching that live when the Joe Rogan thing, and I saw him like take the puff of the blunt live, and I thought it was no big deal. I was like, okay, cool. A CEO like took a puff of weed. Like, I didn't think of it. I guess I wasn't thinking of it from a business perspective. Like, oh my God, what are people going to, I was a kid. I was like, whatever, he smoked some weed. But the world blew that up, right? And then funding security, taking a private at 120. I was at 420. I wasn't paying attention to Tesla too much, but I could tell like that was probably a big deal. This time you're elevating it, not from Joe Rogan, not from, hey, the Saudis are going to fund my company. I can take it off the stock exchange. You're saying the president touches little kids. Like, I mean, that is, and you defended the president and you gave him hundreds of millions knowing that he was on the list, which says something a little bit about you, right? In order to become the most powerful person on the planet. Like, it's a tough situation to navigate. And I think objectively, we should be navigating it and trying to analyze it versus just assuming that, it doesn't matter, because it does. And regardless of what happens to the stock, like, I think a lot of shareholders do care about kind of how this is playing out. All right, cool. So that's what we got on Tesla. Again, buy the dip, in my opinion, 250, 220. And if it goes below that, I would buy more aggressively. I don't even think it's really going to get anywhere to that 220 March low. I think 212 was the March low. But if it does, I will take advantage of that dip. I just don't think you fade Optimus and Robotaxi. But I am curious if Robotaxi actually launches this week, because it's supposed to launch on June 12th. And I guess we're going to see if it actually does end up launching as well. Jan says it kind of felt weird. It kind of felt like husband and wife got into a heated argument and just throwing shit out without thinking. Yeah, dude. I mean, all of us have heard our parents fight, right? Like, I'm pretty sure everyone growing up have heard their parents fight at some point. And it's like one of those parents throws out a low blow and it's just like, oh shit, mom really said that, and you just like, I'm not going downstairs for the next few hours. Like, I'm just not dealing with it. Like, all of us have been through that. It's just, in this case, 200 million people that Epstein tweet got 200 million views. All of us, 200 million people were looking at it. And the worst thing is everyone on the left who's been calling for this bromance to end in flames, they are just relishing in the fact that, yes, we were finally right. We knew that these two egos wouldn't work together. And the real big winner here was not, Tesla, Trump, or Elon. It was the Democrats that got to see a rift within this alliance. Now, nonetheless, the Democrats for the past, it's been 6 months since Trump got elected. I don't even know who the Democratic 2028 candidate is going to be. I think it is going to be AOC because she's the only one that can really communicate. But I have not seen any kind of coming together of the Democratic Party to have this like objective campaign that they're going for in 2028. So if they don't win in 2028 and this is happening between Elon and Trump, that just means they're still way too divided. And Trump, Elon being divided could not unite the Democratic Party, which is kind of crazy if that is what ends up playing out. But we'll have a couple of years to see what happens. A lot of you guys are saying AOC can't be the nominee. Look, I don't think America would vote for a socialist, and I think AOC is the closest thing to like socialist policies. However, she's also the only one that can communicate. Like Newsom, in my opinion, can't really. I think AOC can actually get people's attention, which, as we've seen with Trump, that's what matters. Can you get people's attention? So I think she has a shot, but over the coming months, we'll see how that plays out. All right, let's get into some macro stuff, and then we'll talk more about Palantir and some of these other names. So here was some good macro data that I think is really important to look at. Tesla right here, 296, Robinhood 71, SoFi 1426, Palantir 128, NVIDIA 142.27. This macro data I thought was really important. JP Morgan's retail investor data for the month of May. So what do we got? Well, we got retail that bought but didn't buy as aggressively, okay? So retail bought $23 billion of equities. That was lower than the $40 billion they bought in March and April. $150 billion of retail net inflows in stocks and ETFs year to date. And then here's the big one. This is why I think sentiment is changing, because the people that probably sold also were the people that probably bought. $6.8 billion of retail net inflows last week. 65% of the $7 billion that came into stocks last week went into Tesla. Like, this is what I mean. Tesla still is a heavily retail-oriented stock. And so the downside we saw from 370 to 295, although that was bought up, you would imagine there was a healthy amount of retail that also sold in order for that to come down to those levels. So far, the strategy this year that has worked for retail has been buying the dip. And in the midst of the ugly tariff decline, still, you had $80 billion of equities that were bought, $23 billion in the month of May, and then $150 billion year to date. The catalyst to continue the momentum is the following: the China trade deal getting finalized, which probably is going to take another 2 months at best. Earnings growth continuing to beat. We beat by 2% in Q1. If we continue that in Q2, even with the tariff volatility, I think that's going to be very good for stocks. 3, inflation coming down. We're seeing that in a lot of areas. Now, there is some data we're going to look at in a little bit that's a bit more bearish about the overall health of the economy, not just inflation. But hopefully that can give us rate cuts. And then, once this big, beautiful bill passes, we got a lot of tax cuts coming, folks. We got a lot of tax cuts coming. And those tax cuts are going to be super pro-growth. We've seen IPOs do very well this year, Circle being the latest example of it. And more IPOs, more M&A, more deregulation, more pro-growth, all of that should be bullish for the broader equity markets. I still think 6,500 on the S&P 500 is not out of question. And that's also why I think Tesla is going to be hard to get it below 200, because you still have so much bullish momentum in the broader markets. I just think we need that trade deal, which hopefully we're getting closer to with that meeting that we got tomorrow in London. And that trade deal will set the foundation, I think, for Japan and India and South Korea, et cetera. Now, look, it's been 2 weeks since Trump came back from the Middle East. The White House said he would announce his next trade deal as soon as he got back from the Middle East. He got back from the Middle East, there's no trade deal. In fact, the White House put out a note that by July 9th, all countries should submit their proposal for a trade deal, which to me means they don't have any deals on the table. And I think they've been lying to us for the past couple of weeks, saying that, oh, India's coming, Japan's coming. It's like, no, dude, no one's on the docket. Like, maybe they're close, but until we see something official, there's nothing here. And so still the markets are holding up with very high interest rates and tariff volatility that has been paused in terms of the reciprocal tariffs, but have not been manifested in any type of meaningful deals. And I think it's pretty incredible that the markets have held up through all that. The markets can easily take a nasty dip if any one of those two situations goes out of whack, aka inflation becoming stickier and becoming a bigger issue. We got CPI this week. That's going to be, I know I said this every time, but the most important CPI. And then number 2, if we don't get any meaningful tariff deals till like September, October, I think markets are going to be a little antsy and say, what's going on? JPOW is definitely not cutting until we see any meaningful reduction in that average tariff rate that's currently at 14%. I think part of getting the trade negotiations will get that 14% down to maybe 10% universally, including China's 30%, which could give JPOW the freedom to be like, okay, now I can cut. But unfortunately, until he gets that that freedom, then it's going to be hard to see if that ends up happening the way we want it to happen. So It's gonna be important. It's gonna be really important. Yeah, the courts, dude. Although the courts said that, although the courts said that, that we aren't allowed to enforce the tariffs, and as fun as that was, because everything went up, because like, okay, no tariffs. I remember saying this when that news broke. It's like it is hurting our leverage, dude, because now every other country is like, haha, you can't do anything. Your court said you can't do it, and Trump's over here like. Like it's like he's gonna find a way to do it, and if he does it through some different weird section 122 or something, then it's not going to be effective. It's not going to be as effective as just having the unilateral privilege to just enforce the tariffs. So I mean, it was fun to see that happen for like a couple minutes, couple hours, but ultimately did not, I think, serve our best interests as a country when it comes to negotiating. Nebius right here breaking 50. Look at that, folks. 50.8. Is this thing going to do a core weave? Core weave down about 1% after hours. Nebius, who knows? Up 5.2%, breaking through 50. Maybe it seems like that's how it's going to play out. Doing a little bit more of a core weave. Also, we've got all these protests going on, dude. Holy crap. Take a look at this protest. So there's a lot of immigration protests going on. Sawyer just posted this just now. A lot of people are vandalizing Waymos. That's crazy, dude. Look at this. This just broke like 20 minutes ago. So the protests in LA and Los Angeles right now are having to do with immigration and ICE is having a lot of these raids in different facilities and locations. And this is also happening in Minnesota. And, this is what at least half of the country voted for. Half of the country voted for an administration that was going to be tough on the border and that was going to deport illegal aliens. You can agree with that or disagree with that, but this is the administration that ended up winning. This is the agenda that they said they were going to carry out. The agenda is being carried out. And now in a democratic country, you're going to have people that go against that agenda and they're going to protest. And they have every right to protest. But that doesn't mean those protests are always going to be the most peaceful of protests. So I think Trump sent out the National Guard to LA yesterday, 2,000 troops. And you've got that saga unfolding. I don't think they hit Minnesota. The Minnesota government, I think, put out their own version of a guard to deal with it. But Trump is doing that in LA right now. What do Waymos have to do? I don't know what Waymos have to do with this, dude. They're just going after Waymos to go after Waymos for some reason. I guess it's easy to hurt a self-driving car because like it's a self-driving car and there's no one in the car, so they can just cause havoc and cause pain. But nonetheless, that's one thing that the country's dealing with right now. You guys said Nebus has some news. I think I saw this news as well. And it's that they're announcing, the co-founder and chief business officer. Let me put this right here. Co-founder and chief business officer just teased some major announcements. He said next week will be the week of weeks. London Tech Week and Vivatech and GTC Europe. Jensen's going to be there as well. We are cooking something interest in Nebius to announce. Stay tuned. Okay, so I guess the stock is pumping off that CEO or co-founder saying that we got some exciting updates. And look, I mean, Jensen's going to be there in Paris. So, the whole data center AI trade, if you get some of the other derivative companies like Nebius, CoreWeave, et cetera, getting some momentum. Wow, 52, folks. This one's going higher. Shout out to Sam. Sam called this at 30 on the channel. Spent a good hour and a half explaining it to us. So anyone who took advantage of that session, you're doing very well. 51.90 right here. And maybe it becomes a mini CoreWeave. I can't explain CoreWeave's valuation, but it's getting the premium that it's getting, even though it's down from 163. Maybe Nebius might be something like this as well. Remster says, I think Nebius will be my first 2x new to investing. I'm very exciting. I love it. I hope it is. And if it is, then, that likely means that the data center AI trade on NVIDIA itself is going to be very exciting. Yeah, Archer's also up because ARK has a 4% stake in the company. So that also helped it go up 12%. And Trump after hours. So two things happened after hours. Trump signed an executive order on eVTOLs and drones. And then and he repealed some weird regulation that was stopping them from being able to get into the air. And then Kathy disclosed she owns like 5% of the company. And so both of those things helped Archer as well. So there you go. All right, so we talked about some macro stuff. We talked about Tessie for a long time. We'll definitely get into the Palantir discussion in a bit, and we'll talk a little bit more about AI. Oh, okay, let's talk about a little bit about AI in general. So take a look at this, bro. Take a look at this. Is why you buy NVIDIA. I bought more NVIDIA at 140.82 on Friday, and I kind of didn't care. And this chart is emblematic of why. So Cursor AI is a AI vibe coding startup. Essentially, what that means is that it's an AI assistant that helps you code. That's the simplest way to. So if you're a software engineer, instead of you doing all the coding, this AI assistant helps you. They have just achieved 500 million in ARR. In January, they were doing 100 million. So they announced that they raised 900 million in a Series C funding. I think the valuation is 10 billion. And they have 500 million in ARR. In January, they were at 100. They have 5x revenue. 5x. This is like insane levels of growth for a startup. Usually they do it 5x year over year. This is 5x in 5 months, based on their ability to get into more than half of the Fortune 500, as they say right here on this tweet, and become a useful product. So what does this mean? Well, number one, it means that software engineering and jobs in software engineering, I think if you are a mid-level, low-level engineer and you're really, not that good at your job, I mean, like, this is one thing that you have to be concerned about. There is a world in which AI, like Cursor, is going to be a replacement for junior level engineers. And I think the productivity margins in a Microsoft, a Meta, and Amazon, any tech company that has a big IT base, they're going to start looking at AI agents as good as what this is the worst it's ever going to be. It's ever going to be, right? Same thing with robots, same thing with these AI agents that can do coding. And they're going to wonder, hey, why are we paying this guy $200,000 a year? Why don't we pay someone else that is like a really good engineer, I don't know, $700,000 a year, and then just give them this assistant, so that assistant can do the job of what the $200,000 a year engineer was doing, but we can just pay for this assistant and give it to someone who's worth more to the company. So I think that's the first implication, that AI engineering jobs, or just software engineering in general, we have to keep on track in terms of the hiring rates. And I want to try to collect a little bit more macro data to see, is this going to have any big of an impact? Again, Microsoft said 30% of code inside of the company is being written by AI. So it's so ironic. Everyone was saying learn to code 5 years ago. And it's like, who knows if learning to code really is going to be, I'm not saying software engineers is going to go extinct, but it's just like, who knows if that career path is going to be as lucrative as it was before, unless you're at the top of the top, because there's always going to be a need for engineers. But that, mid-level entry engineer, do you really need them if you have AI? So that's one thing. Number two, all of this is because of NVIDIA. All of this is because of NVIDIA. Someone says right here, Cursor is really good. Been using them for a long time now. That's what I'm hearing anecdotally as well from some of my friends who work at these big tech companies that are also using it as an AI agent. NVIDIA is the reason, the GPUs are the reason why the models have been created for Cursor to be able to implement those models into their specific application that allow AI agents to be as good as they are when it comes to coding. And what that means to me is that if this is the worst it's ever going to be, Palantir and Anthropic just had a partnership where when I was at AIPCon and I saw some of the demos. Again, when you type in a prompt to AIP, it doesn't just give you a summary of the answer. It does the coding of the answer, which is like high-level different SQL databases it has to go through, all this stuff in the back end. It's using Anthropic as their core partner, Claude, to then give you the answer. All of that's going to be automated across the entire enterprise, across government agencies. Like, it's going to be insanity, and you're going to need a lot of GPUs to make that happen, especially when GPT-7, GPT-8, GPT-9. I don't know when GPT becomes AGI or when we reach AGI, but if it takes 20 different versions of it to get there, you're going to need a lot of GPUs to be able to train. So the idea that these startups are getting this type of growth, to me, and again, let me pull this chart up right here. To me, this proves that this is going to be the most abundant age for investors to invest in history. Like, this is going to be the greatest time to be an investor if you pick the right companies. And a lot of us can't get into the private names. So the way to get exposure to all these companies, in my opinion, is NVIDIA. Cursor is the fastest company in history, even faster than OpenAI, to reach 100 million in ARR. It took them less than a year, and now they're at 500 million 1.5 years in. It's just insanity. Is just insanity. So, like, look, the reason I'm not waiting for a dip on NVIDIA is because we had a dip for the past couple months. I did as much buying as I could. Now I'm just buying it. I don't care. This is going to happen because of NVIDIA. There's no way you see this type of demand and NVIDIA becomes commoditized, because it's not possible for NVIDIA to become commoditized unless someone really replicates their architecture, which that could happen. But if all these startups are winning because of the models, and the models are because of NVIDIA, and in order for the startups to keep winning, they need to have better models, which means the models need to keep buying more NVIDIA. This is going to be a long, long runway for it to play out. And we're not even talking about the humanoid robotic revolution that, if you believe in that at all, is going to require a ton of NVIDIA GPUs as well. So yeah, bullish NVIDIA, bullish AI. It's not going anywhere. And all of the Microns, that Broadcoms, although I'm not invested in that whole supply chain ecosystem that comes back to NVIDIA, if NVIDIA continues to do what it does, I think those stocks over the next 5 years should do well. And maybe they outperform NVIDIA, because NVIDIA's at 3 trillion, maybe a Micron at whatever market cap it's at 100 billion gets to 200 billion before NVIDIA gets to 6 trillion. But still, it does mean there's a long runway for AI. John says Zuck's at 70% at Meta. Really? Zuck's at 70% of coding at Meta's AI? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm seeing the headline right here. Holy crap, dude. See, like, this is, and again, software engineers don't just only code. I get it. There's a lot more to their job. I'm just saying, it is hard to imagine that a mid-level engineer that could have easily made 150,000 working at Snapchat has that job 5 years from now. If Snapchat's like, dude, we could pay Cursor $10,000 to do this. Why would Snapchat pay that extra 140,000 in health benefits and RSUs and your stock? It's like, why would they do that if they could pay a fraction of that price? Same thing with Amazon. Why would they pay a human if they could pay a robot half the price or a third of the price? It just doesn't make any sense, right? And so I think from that angle, what do we do as investors? We invest in the companies that are going to benefit from that. Like, even my dad, he brought up today, this is the first time it kind of clicked in my dad's head. By the way, you know what my sister said today, dude? I got so mad. My sister said, she was like, wait, isn't NVIDIA a pharmaceutical company? I was driving her. Well, I wasn't driving. FSD was driving. I was like, no. NVIDIA is not a pharmaceutical. I was like, it's not. I was like, we talked about this. I was like, we went out for lunch. I said, it's AI. I told you about GPUs. I said, she was like, no, but they make drugs, right? I was like, no, they don't make. I was like, this whole Tesla's driving right now because of NVIDIA, because of AI. Like, the GPU is like, and she hates the self-driving too. She gets like so much anxiety when we're self-driving. But she's like, how is NVIDIA causing this? I was like, because there's chips, and the chips train on the models, and the models. And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I thought it was a drug company. I was like, oh, whatever. But the point is, NVIDIA is going to keep growing. And my dad, it kind of clicked in his head today because we were talking about NVIDIA as well. And he was like, wait a second. If you're saying this AI thing is so powerful, doesn't that mean people are not going to have jobs in the future? And I was like, yeah, there will be some commoditization of jobs. The Anthropic CEO last week, he was really ringing the alarm about this. He's the first CEO I heard come out actually say, white collar jobs, 50% of them, they're gone when it comes to AI. And we can't take that lightly. And my dad started getting concerned. He was like, so what do we do? I was like, we invest in NVIDIA. I was like, that's how we prepare for this, right? And my dad's near retirement, so I was like, Dad, you don't have to worry. You're near retirement. Like, this is going to affect my generation that has to compete in the job market. So you're going to be okay. But now, granted, the way everyone is not okay is because if everyone doesn't have a job, or not everyone, but like a lot of people lose their jobs, we can't have an economy that functions. Like, for you to be able to order pizza from the local pizzeria, you need to be able to have disposable income. And if you don't have a job, or you don't have enough disposable income coming from your job because your job's not paying that well anymore, you're not going to be able to fund the revenues of that pizzeria because you might not want to eat out. So like the economy is so interconnected that we absolutely need a solution to this inevitable issue about jobs being replaced, not just in the white collar world, but obviously in the blue collar world as well. And I don't know what that solution is, but I do know that the tech companies that are going to be at the forefront of this, NVIDIA, Tesla, Palantir, et cetera, those are companies that we should be invested in. And that's the best way to at least somewhat find a way to hedge with this. They just can't admit a lot of jobs will be lost. Yeah, Anthropic CEO is the first one to actually say it. Sam Altman can't say it. Sundar can't say it. Dude, these guys cannot say it. They don't want the government up their ass trying to figure out AI regulations to stop the job loss epidemic that could take place, because they know that if we have regulations to stop us from cutting jobs, we're never going to innovate to the point where we can cut the jobs, which is a byproduct of reaching AGI, which is what every tech company, at least in the AI world, is trying to figure out how to achieve. And once that happens, obviously that's going to have profound implications for society. Tanner says every AV car will need chips, every fleet will need a data center, and every data center needs NVIDIA. There you go. That is the core thesis right there for NVIDIA as well. Tell your sister Nvidia makes fat shot. Dude, that was hilarious, bro. Like we're literally in the car. We were going to my uncle's house today to get lunch. And she's like, so Nvidia is a pharmaceutical, right? And I was just like, so ungrateful, bro. So ungrateful. Like she's up a decent chunk on Nvidia. She has about 900 shares. And I'm like, no, they're not a pharmaceutical. Like they like they make chips, and not those type of chips that you need the fat shot drug for. Like they actually make real chips. But the point is, the average person doesn't need to know what Nvidia does. But in the midst of that, she's also, because like, but then we got into the ChatGPT conversation again, and she was like, "Oh, but they're connected with ChatGPT, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." She was like, "That's all I care about." She's like, "So I'm basically invested in ChatGPT." I'm like, "No, not." She didn't know what OpenAI was. She was like, "Why isn't ChatGPT public?" I was like, "It's owned by OpenAI." She's like, "Why aren't they public?" I'm like, "Because they're worth 300 billion on the private market." She's like, 300 billion, they should be public. I was like, "Yeah, but they don't want to go public." So she's like, "How do I invest?" I was like, "You kind of are invested with Nvidia." I mean, like by proxy, OpenAI is going to be paying Nvidia a lot of money. And every update and step change they get in terms of GPT, NVIDIA is going to be a beneficiary of. So in a way, she has some exposure. My dad is 64. He'll be 65 next week on his birthday. But he's 64 right now. Elon's been saying that there's going to be a huge job loss for years place because he's gone so far as to suggest there will be some kind of universal basic income to take it. Yeah, look, I think the government's going to have to fund this in some way. And it might just end up meaning that we've got to tax the crap out of the AI companies. And I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. And even as a shareholder, you got to recognize that capitalism doesn't work unless people think they have a chance. As soon as people think they don't have a chance, that's when you get the pitchforks. That's when you get the guns. That's when you get the revolution. People need to feel there is a shot at the American dream. This, quite frankly, probably explains why Trump won in 2016. People just didn't feel there was a shot anymore. And if we get to the point where all of us in the investor class are making boatloads of money because we invested in NVIDIA in 2025 and NVIDIA goes to 10, 15 trillion. And we have assets that we can actually hold on to. We can sell those assets. We can diversify. We can gain some level of financial freedom. But the majority of America, which is, I think Brad Gerstner said the stat is 70% of Americans aren't really invested in the financial markets outside of their 401k. I mean, they're going to, and if they lose their jobs, I mean, like that's not a world we can live in. That world, we're done. It's over at that point. It's over. So there needs to be a solution to this. I don't know what the solution is, but inevitably we need to find some type of that solution. NVIDIA to your sister is PPBT. Dude, my sister, I think I've made up for, so I got my sister invested into this biotech as well when I was like, 19, 20, 22 years old or whatever. We both lost our money in this thing, but she trusted me then. I was like, hey, they're going to cure everything. Purple Biotech. I will never forget Purple Biotech. That was the first one that blew up my account. If you haven't blown up your account, have you really lived, And I was like, hey, Didi, in India, you call your big sister Didi. I was like, Didi, I got this investment idea for you. And she trusted me at the time. That shit blew up. But I think I've recovered with Robinhood, NVIDIA, and Palantir. Dude, her account hit an all-time high on Friday. So she's pretty damn happy. And now I get to tease her every time she makes fun of me. I was like, well, look at your portfolio. It's not doing the worst. But you live and you learn, right? You live and you learn and you try to navigate all this stuff. The point is AI is not going anywhere. And I think we will have to be ready for those changes. And the best way to be ready is to invest. All right, let's talk about Palantir. So here's a video I want to share from Mike Solana discussing some of the issues going on with Palantir. And then we'll go deeper into what I'm seeing happen with the narrative and ultimately what implications it has on the stock.
The general audience doesn't know or care about Palantir at all. It's the media that is perpetuating this myth of spookiness. And they do know better or should, or they shouldn't be writing about tech. So what Palantir is a tool for making sense of vast amounts of data. Home Depot uses it, trying to figure out like which fertilizer to buy in which location and things like this. The European government early on used it to help find child sex predators. And right now, our government is going to be using it to make sense of the data in the various siloed off places. We have everything from like what the tax one to the healthcare stuff. It's like, this is the government's data, and they're using a tool to make sense of it all, to like help navigate hundreds of millions of names. And so if you have a principled opposition to the government collecting any data at all, I'd be like, okay, I used to be an anarchist, I get it. But that's not what this is, because you can make the exact same argument against Palantir that against like Excel or something. Oh, is Excel compiling the data of Americans, or is Gmail a tool for spying because the CIA uses it or something, or whatever email client they're using? It's like, of course not. The real reason they're going after Palantir, there are two reasons. One is the Peter Thiel Association / Alex Karp Association, and he's associated with the right, so they want to fucking kill him. And number two, because it actually is very useful. It's a tool that's very good, and it's going to help the government do its job. So again, I feel like the correct criticism that I would accept is a criticism of the government itself, and that's just a libertarian critique.
I didn't see in the story like an argument that Palantir shouldn't be doing this.
The framing is that this spooky company is compiling your data. It's like, of course, they lie in the same way. It's not like an overt lie. It's a lie by, it's like you just frame things in a certain way as to lead people to be upset. And you can just look at the reaction to know if they succeeded or not. Everybody is currently terrified about this brand new thing that's happening. Why? It's because of the news.
To your point, the word could was doing a lot of work in this article. I actually went and counted. There were 6 coulds. And there was one could potentially. Anytime you see a could potentially, that is a sign that I think the reporter knows that they're making stuff up. I'm guilty of this myself. But I think that it's not a kind of anti-government or anti-tech agenda. I think that maybe what's happening is there's a misplaced sense on the New York Times part of being a watchdog to tech in general. And in this case, Palantir does have my birthday, my first and last name, social security number, home address. By the way, Bridget, they probably have yours too.
They have.
And I
who
think
doesn't have that information? I assume people like on the dark web have it. I assume that. How do I get all these freaking robocalls?
Okay, so I think there's some important points brought up there. Number one is what Mike Solana is saying is exactly correct. We all know what Palantir actually does, or at least some of us know what Palantir does. They don't steal your data, spy on your data. They provide software and tools in order to be able to manage data. This is why Home Depot uses them. This is why United uses them. This is why Citibank uses them. If you guys watch AIPCon on the video that Palantir uploaded, you guys would have seen all these amazing presentations of companies that are working with Palantir to manage their data. You're not growing 71% in U.S. commercial if you're creating an evil surveillance base, a database to surveil Americans. Like, let's just get that straight up, right? You're not going to grow as a company if no company wants to be partnered with a company that's spying on Americans and surveilling on them. That's the first thing, right? It's not going to be a lot of commercial growth if your brand is that messed up from that perspective. Number two, what she says at the end, I think is really important. The most sensitive parts of our data are already known. My birthday, my social security, all this stuff, the government already has that. And so when Mike Solana said, if you're an anarchist, then you have a legitimate critique against Palantir, then be my guest. But anarchy is not really going to work, right? Like, most of us grew up in public school, like myself. You kind of need the government to subsidize stuff. You need to be able to have funding for different public institutions and roads and bridges and all this stuff. So if we're going to accept the government's going to play a role, but we don't want them to play a role that's invasive in our life, ironically, the best way to deal with that is Palantir. This goes back to people not knowing why Peter Thiel created Palantir in the first place. Peter Thiel is a libertarian. This is a guy who doesn't want the government to be involved in your life. And the reason he started Palantir is because after he sold PayPal and saw that fraud mitigation technologies could be applied in the government to stop terrorism, it was 2 years after 9/11. And what did 9/11 bring? The Patriot Act. What was the Patriot Act? It was basically the government's ability to use 9/11 to then take anyone hostage and do horrible things to them, like waterboarding, to be able to get them to admit that they were part of some terrorist organization or whatever else it may be, under the guise of safety. So they could violate your civil liberties, your right as a human being to just exist at the airport, and you then boom, next thing you know, you're being waterboarded because you might be part of another 9/11. That's what the Patriot Act was used for. Peter Thiel is staunchly against that. And the reason Palantir was created was to say, hey, what if we create a technology platform, a software platform that can help the government mitigate terrorism without violating people's civil liberties? I did a video on this a long time ago. I'm going to link it right here in the chat. I think the video was like the secret about Palantir that people don't know about. Thiel did an entire interview on this like about 7 years ago. And it was one of the most important like learning lessons when I was first investing in the company, because I was trying to figure out, hey, is this an evil company? Like I had those same thoughts that all these people had when they were trying to, now that they're discovering Palantir. And back in 2021, when I started listening to Thiel talk about this stuff, I was like, no, this guy's just a genius. This guy said, hey, how do we stop another 9/11 without giving the government the ability to invade our civil liberties? And if you actually do some research on what Palantir has been able to do in Europe with far-right extremism, terrorism, etc., Osama bin Laden, obviously we all know about that, it's worked. It's worked in some of the most magnificent ways. So that's why when Karp on the CNBC interview said the last platform you would want to use is Palantir to violate state and civil liberties because the platform is internally built with those tools in place, he's right about that. And they wouldn't be seeing the growth that they're seeing and the momentum across NATO, which, by the way, is Europe, that has some of the biggest civil liberties protections and rights violations, or protection against right violations on the planet. You wouldn't be seeing that if you didn't have a software like Palantir that was actually built with those data privacy mentions inside of the fabric of their software.
The Palantir platform, despite what you might read at the New York Times, is actually the most secure, the hardest platform in the world to manipulate and change. Of course, any technology can be abused. But if you wanted to abuse the technology, if you wanted to use the deep state to unlawfully surveil people, the last platform on the world you would pick is Palantir, because of the granular way we segment and put together, and the security models and the access control models that are in Foundry natively, not a built-on addendum.
When he says it's not a built-on addendum, what he's saying right there is that we don't think about privacy as a second concern. We think about it internally. The entire point of the software, the civil liberties head of Palantir, Courtney Bauman, who was on the Spaces 2 weeks ago, that's essentially the point he was making. It's like the mainstream media thinks that we're like trying to steal people's data and like that we think about privacy as an addendum to the software, when intrinsically the software is built with the ability to not have those civil liberties be violated. One of the most simplest examples of this is, how do two organizations talk to each other, right? And this is Karp was talking about this a couple of years ago. The CIA has certain access to data. The FBI has certain access of to data. Those two organizations can't just voluntarily see the other organization's data because they serve two different purposes. So you need something like granular access controls embedded within the structure of the platform itself, Gotham, which is Palantir's government platform, that allows cross-functional organization between two different agencies to not violate different forms of data privacy that the other one's not able to see, but to still have access to the type of data that is in the Venn diagram of the overlap of data that is needed to then do something with that data, aka take actions. Now, granted, what I just said is super boring, right? Like, it's not that exciting at all. What's exciting is Palantir being the evil company that's going to steal all your data and then ruin everything and then yada, 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 yada. And this is a masterclass in media, because I just haven't seen something spread like wildfire in a long time, at least around Palantir. I mean, we've all been used to the Palantir spying on you, NHS, all this like stupid stuff. Most of us that have made a lot of money on the stock understood that the reason they're going to be able to grow is because of how good the software is and how much they care about civil liberties, protecting all that stuff. The rest of the world doesn't. The rest of the world doesn't. And Robert says media wants to get into the stock. They did the same with Meta. You know, I thought about that today. I think this is a hell of a point. There is a world where the hedge funds, I don't think the New York Times is beneath taking a lot of money. I mean, could you imagine a hedge fund that maybe shorted Palantir and is down on their short, or a hedge fund that's like, dude, we got to get in this stock. We know it's going to $1 trillion, but we need a better entry. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that there is potential. Not saying it happened, but there is the potential of a New York Times to take money to write the article. And then they know that based on the New York Times having the influence that they have, that article would disseminate. People didn't even read the damn article, but they would take that headline and then boom, they would use that headline to make their content. And, you know, like, it's a juicy story, bro. The evil company that's stealing your data, it's a juicy story. Like objectively, I can say that's a story I want to read. I'm curious about, oh, some company spying on me. There's some master evil database that's going to like take over the world. Like the funny thing when you listen to these like Laura Loomers of the world and all these people is like, what exactly is this database for? What does Palantir want to do? Like, who do they want to kill? But like, who do they want to put inside some secret laboratories? Like, what exactly? You're trying to go down the rabbit hole, because I've tried to go down the rabbit hole over the weekend, and I'm trying to be like, okay, what exactly is the implication. Like I've watched like 5 videos over the weekend, all these like random commentary YouTubers that are like talking about Palantir for the first time, getting hundreds of thousands of views, which means they're super excited because the algorithm is showing their content to all these new people. And now that's going to incentivize them to make more content around how Palantir is this evil company, which is the sad part about this. But I'm listening to the video and I'm like, okay, what's the point? Like, why does Palantir want this evil database? And the best answer, I use best lightly, that I'm getting to is that Palantir wants to surveil all Americans so that the Trump administration can use that surveillance data to then create the perfect version of society that they want to create. And I don't know what that means, because they don't go so far to say it's an ethno-state. They don't go so far as to say, oh, they want to kill all these different types of races or something, because that's like, that's like taking it a bit far, right? Like they want to kill Jews or kill illegals or something like that. They don't go as far to say that, because they all know that's kind of crazy and there's really no evidence to back that up. So they stop short of their analysis of, oh, Trump just wants this evil database to do things. And then I'm like, okay, to do what? To get the IRS to better collect tax revenue? like what exactly is it? What exactly? Like, I just don't get it. And so it is just fascinating to see how this is playing out. Here's JD Vance addressing this on Theo Vaughn's podcast over the weekend, and we'll listen to what he had to say as well.
That have all of our information in them, right? That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying, yeah.
And it's going to have like everything. It'll like look at you and know like if you're good at tennis, or if you've ever, if you have $60 in your pocket, or if you're, it can tell if your kids are, if your kids can have a limp or whatever, if he'll be in the Christmas play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It can tell all of that. And that feels real scary, man. Like I get it. To a regular guy on the street, that feels like we're going to give our society like we're going to become these, like they're going to have know everything about us. It makes you feel like you won't be a person anymore.
I hear you.
Does that make sense to you?
It definitely makes sense to me. I mean, let me try to explain.
By the way, that makes sense to me as well. If there's a company that wants to have all your data so they can institute something like the CCP with a social credit system, I mean, the Chinese Communist Party literally knows if you say anything that's against them because you have a social credit score, that is scary. That's a horrible thing. That's like very that's something that all of us as Americans should feel afraid about. But any of us that know Palantir know that Karp and Thiel would never want to create some type of system to create a social credit score on the country. Like this, if just like an hour of listening, 10 minutes of listening to Karp would let you know, oh, he's probably not going to do that, given that they rejected the contract to build the Muslim database that Trump wanted to build in 2015 as well. And so the entire story is asinine, but it's juicy, and that's why I think people are latching onto it as well.
So to be clear, I'm not an expert on this particular deal. I actually just read about it earlier today, or maybe yesterday, but the president did an executive order, I don't know, a couple months ago. And the basic idea is you've got all this different information, but it's not accessible in one place. Mm-hmm. So like, let me give you an example where this might be useful.
Okay.
Let's say you catch an illegal immigrant, okay? And that person's using a social security number, but the Department of Homeland Security that arrests the person can't actually figure out what social security number that illegal immigrant is, what name it's attached to. Okay. Or, let's say you're like investigating some terrorist and the FBI arrests the person, but there are information about like where the person lived a couple of years ago that you'd like to have. So you'd maybe like to go, talk to their friends or associates or whatever.
Yeah.
But my understanding is that it does sound odd, but that what they're trying to do is take all the information that the Department of Homeland Security has, that the FBI has, and just make it so that it's actually not in some hyper inefficient system. It's all sort of accessible. And here's the thing. Modern technology is just crazy and weird, and it affects our privacy. And I think we don't have to think that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. It is like a reality of the world that we live in.
Right.
And
sometimes I get a little romantic about things.
Well, I mean, look.
And I think it's going to go back in time.
I mean, look, everybody, I kind of agree with you. I think people are sort of going to rebel against technology a little bit. In some ways they already are, but I mean, look, dude, if I, this has happened to me so many times where I'm talking to my wife, like, oh, what are we gonna make for dinner for the kids tonight? Oh, let's just like do DoorDash or Grubhub. Mm-hmm. And then you go on like X, or you go on, Facebook or Instagram, and there's like an advertisement for a DoorDash coupon. And it's like, well, I was just talking about this 10 minutes ago. So we know that big technology spies on us and harvests our data. I honestly worry more about that than about like connecting the DHS system to the FBI system.
So that's all that this Palantir deal is part. Like a lot of that, it's just connecting information.
So I'm hardly an expert, but that is my understanding is that it's just taking, DHS has information, FBI has information, Secretary of the Treasury has information, and making it possible for that information to be searched by whoever is looking for it. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
And I
by the way, that's also my understanding of the executive order. Now, the conspiracy theorists are thinking that, oh my goodness, this is an evil database that's going to control. It's like, no, dude, it's just making everything interoperable. It's bringing everything together. It's making the government more efficient. And if they build some master database to surveil people to then build some social credit system, yeah, that's bad. But they're doing this so that the CDC and the FDA and the IRS and all these agencies that are wildly inefficient, which, by the way, one of the ways you can have some bad things happen is if you don't have the data together, if everything's siloed, we've seen this happen in the past, bringing all that together seems like a relatively good thing. And yes, Palantir will make money for that because it's really hard to do. And so the narrative has been spun so out of proportion because, again, I think people are bored and they need something to talk about. But that's just not the reality of what I think is happening.
But again, like, I hear that story and my reaction is the same, which is, oh, I don't like the government having my information. The reality is the government already has my information. And more importantly, some of these private technology companies have way more information on me than the government does.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, anywhere you shop has unbelievable information on you. I mean, let me tell you, like,
dude, crazy. Blockbuster 2 days ago, Blockbuster was like, happy birthday. They were wrong.
So I gotta.
It's like, you're out of business. There's a
When was the last time you were at a Blockbuster?
But some guy somewhere, probably in another country, Nepal,
you and FDR
somewhere.
You and FDR took your Celsius and went down to Blockbuster to get some VHS rentals.
A little bit of boogie, boogie nights, but
that was FDR's favorite movie, so that makes sense. So all right. What were we talking about? Technology. Okay. So I got a brief from my national security guy. I gotta make sure it's not classified information. Okay. No, it's not classified information. Okay. Basically, long story short.
It is just so cool to see a VP, a vice president of the country on a podcast. This is why the Republicans won, by the way, because they went to people like Theo Vaughn and they just spoke. And to hear him say, oh, is this classified? Okay. It's not classified. I can talk about it. It makes him seem like a human. And I think JD's got a good shot in 2028 if he continues to embrace this independent media strategy because it makes you just more likable. But the fact that we're getting this as transparently as we are, I think is one of the benefits of this administration as well.
One of the guys who works the national security team of the Trump administration gave me this brief about how, when you're using an iPad and let's say, you're reading a story from some random newspaper and you hover on a particular paragraph, like your iPad is collecting that information on you.
God.
Like it's actually trying to track what you're doing. Like that is the stuff that really freaks me out.
Well, how do we stop that? I think it freaks everybody out. I think it just makes people sick. It's like you don't even feel like you exist for any purpose anymore other than to be advertised to or to be, I don't even know anything.
Yeah. Well, you think about it like 100 years ago, 50 years ago, the most brilliant scientists in the world, they're trying to figure out nuclear energy. They're trying to figure out how to cure cancer. Mm-hmm. Now, way too many of them are figuring out, like, how do I get a person to linger on a digital advertisement for a little bit longer so that we can.
And this is what Karp has been speaking about as well. So the point of what he's saying is that, hey, guys, the companies that actually have our data, Amazon, Google, Meta, these companies that can actually really, like, you talk about freaking, Hershey's with a friend, and the next thing you know, you're scrolling Instagram and there's a Hershey's ad. Like that stuff is scary. Palantir making sure that the IRS can more effectively collect tax revenue by amalgamating all the data is not something that I think we need to be afraid of. But no one wants to critique Meta or Google about advertising anymore because it's so ingrained in our culture. We've kind of just become so accustomed to the fact that, yeah, they're listening to everything we talk about, and I'm probably going to get a Hershey's ad on Instagram tonight. But Palantir is the new kid on the block. That's the scary company that we can all critique. And look, if it comes out, let me just say this right now. If it comes out that Palantir is building an evil data surveillance, an evil database to surveil Americans, and there is accurate reporting over the coming months or years that Palantir has been helping the government surveil and do like horrible, atrocious things, I will say that's bad. And I will acknowledge that is not a good thing because I don't want to be a part of that. I think that's a horrible thing. And I went through these internal debates back in 2021 when I was building my initial position because I saw the same FUD that, or at least the same ideas that people thought about in terms of the bear cases. Like forget even the valuation during the time. I was just like, is this an ethical company to be invested in? And I thought for myself, and when I listened to Peter Thiel and I would listen to Karp, and I actually went deep into the whole Western values and tried to understand what they're talking about, I'm like, look, you don't have to agree with everything, but this core argument is pretty freaking obvious, which is that the government is always going to have our data. The most ethical way to navigate that data is to have a company like Palantir be able to manage that data because Palantir actually cares about civil liberties and privacy way more than any other company in the world would care about, which is the irony of everything that's going on right now. But unfortunately, that's not the narrative. The narrative is that Palantir is a evil company that's going to, steal all your data. So, yeah, my take here is very simple. I could this affect the stock? I think it could. I thought last week it couldn't, but the Elon Trump thing did not stop the Palantir story from gaining momentum. I mean, you type in Palantir on YouTube, dude, like you're going to see not a lot of stock videos. You're going to see a lot of this is the most evil company in the world videos. Now, granted, I think it will die out. The New York Times did publish 2 more headlines over the weekend, explicitly calling out Palantir again. And I think that's because they want to keep legs underneath the story, which makes me question, hey, is the ad revenue that good? Like, are you getting paid? Like, what exactly is going on right here? But if they keep doing this stuff, then yeah, the story's going to have legs. So this is one of the headlines they had over the weekend. The rich compensation for being the CEO. The chief executives at Palantir, which scoops up data for the government, is topping the list of the highest paid CEOs. You can even tell, right? That headline is a little raunchy right there. And then this one, Palantir's collection of disease data at CDC stirs privacy concerns. So if there was accurate, real information to report right here, then I'm all for it. But the New York Times doesn't care about that, bro. The New York Times wants clicks. They want revenue. They probably want some level of attention to find their next big boogeyman. I mean, we saw this happen with Tesla. This is why it's so ironic when people are saying I'm bearish or short Tesla. It's like, no, what's going on with Palantir, I have so much sympathy for Tesla shareholders because Karp didn't tweet anything crazy like Elon, but nonetheless, his company is being subject to a media attack. And Elon kind of on this one walked into it. But for so many years, Elon's been subject to media attacks when he did nothing wrong. It was just the media trying to find a way to tear down Tesla. So I think we can both objectively analyze what's happening with Tesla and Palantir. And 1,000%, I will admit, sentiment on Palantir could be changing. That doesn't mean the stock has to go up or down. But the idea that the brand, we talk about brand damage with Elon. The idea that Palantir's brand is not taking a hit is insanity. Absolutely. This brand is the amount of millions of people that have read these conspiracy tweets or watched these conspiracy videos or read the New York Times article that now associate Palantir with evil company, which, by the way, most people are lazy, including myself. We're not going to do tons and tons and tons of research. Like we're going to form an opinion immediately. I mean, my opinion on FSD was so bad for so many years because I just didn't choose to actually read into it. I had so much FUD about FSD as a concept in 2023. And then when I actually went deep, and I was like, no, this could be safer than a human driving. Why am I so afraid of this? It takes time to change, positioning around a brand. Palantir's brand, which was the sexiest brand in Silicon Valley over the past couple of months, it's taken a major hit. And I think that brand can be restored, obviously, but the story's got to die out. And Palantir can do as much as they want to combat it. I can do as much as I can, making content as well. But at the end of the day, if everyone believes that this is an evil company, that's the narrative that's going to propagate. And it's scary because you don't know what that turns into. Forget even the stock, dude. It could radicalize people to do horrible things in the name of being against Palantir. And these are real people's lives could be at stake here. And that's the scary parts of me outside of even the stock. I mean, we saw that with the Tesla vandalism in the cars, right? Like real people's property is being hurt because Elon supports Trump. And so I don't know what's going to happen to the stock. I do know the brand is getting hit. I'm not going to be naive and say that Palantir's brand is not getting hit right now. But I think the story dies out over the next couple of months if people just get bored and move on to something else. But based on what I've been seeing over the weekend, it doesn't look like the story is dying out anytime soon. It really does not look like that. By the way, we got some new videos on Waymo. This is kind of insane, bro. Look at this right here. This is pretty wild. That is a Waymo on fire in LA. There's 3 Waymos on fire. My goodness, dude. It's kind of wild, man. Kind of wild. And this is another thing the country's got to deal with now, dude. We've got massive riots and protests across the entire, well, at least across LA. I'm sure it'll be across the country, but in LA around illegal immigration. And this is another thing that I don't think Trump can worry about Elon right now. He's got to deal with this. This is a little bit more intense right here. And so now the one benefit, I said that Trump doesn't get that many benefits from Elon. The one benefit that Trump did get is that Elon has 250 million followers, right? And so if you did have Elon on your side saying, hey, it's a good thing to stop the protests, that's a really powerful voice that you have to influence people around, hey, let's not blow up Waymos or whatever. Now, I don't know if Elon's going to want to support the administration and make Trump look good by siding with him because he's got beef with the guy. And so that is one thing that Trump definitely loses, is the support of the world's richest man, who has, arguably more influence than anyone outside of Trump. That could potentially rally people to agree with, what Trump is saying. Tesla bulls be like robo-taxi solves. Oh my gosh. Yo, Waymo has nothing to do with immigration. That's why it's sad, bro. That's why it's just why are they doing this to Waymos? Again, Waymos are just the collateral damage here. They're the casualties of people, being like this. Did we get China CPI right now? We got China consumer prices. What time is it in China? Time in China. It's 9:30 a.m. Oh yeah, we should be getting some China data. Oh, we got Japan data as well. Okay, yeah. China's inflation rate year over year, negative 0.1%. The street thought it would be 0.2. That's good. And then month over month, negative 0.2. Wow, dude. The street thought it would be 0%. It came in at negative 0.2. PPI was at negative 3.3. The street thought it would be at negative 2.6. That's kind of deflationary, bro. That's absolutely deflationary. Let's see how Alibaba's doing. Baba is flat. FXI is flat. One could argue there's some good to that deflation, but given China's economy is in a little bit of a not good spot, they actually would not mind some inflation. And this is why China is probably going to have to keep printing a lot of money, pumping it in. I mean, they already reduced the reserve ratio requirements 2 times, which just means banks can loan out more money. It looks like they're going to have to do more than that. They're going to have to do a lot more than that. If they're getting negative 3% PPI, dude, my goodness, that is deflation. That is absolutely deflation. By the way, going back to the AI topic that we were discussing, I forgot to show this chart right here. Take a look at this. This is by Andreessen Horowitz. They're a VC fund. They invest in pretty much all of the top tier companies in AI. They just published this data set. The median B2B company is going from 0 to 2.1 million ARR in year 1, while the median B2C company, all in generative AI, is going from 0 to 4.2 million in year 1. So you've got these AI startups. If someone's asking, hey, why are they getting these valuations? It's because they're going from 0 to millions of dollars within less than 365 days, annually recurring, across the B2B portion of software, and then obviously the B2C portion as well when it comes to generative AI. And so we looked at Cursor, which is doing 500 million, but all these startups that one day could be doing 500 million in revenue, they are beginning their journey and they're growing faster than the internet companies were growing back in 2000. So it is really exciting to see. And again, it just proves that NVIDIA is going to continue to have a lot of demand. In terms of Japan GDP, so that one looks like it's GDP growth final negative 0.2. The street thought it would be negative 0.7. Quarter over quarter, it was 0%. Street thought it would be negative 0.2. Okay, so that's a little bit better quarter over quarter. Overall final for Q1, negative 0.2. That means they declined in their growth. It's better than what the street expected at negative 0.7. But obviously, it means that Japan is not growing, which is to be expected because Japan is having some issues. But that also means that, a lot of money is going to have to go where stocks are growing. And that is the United States compared to everywhere else in the world. The Nikkei right here up about 1% based on this data. It was a little bit better than expected, so it makes sense that that's up 1% right now. All right, that's what we got. That's what we got right now. Do you believe the robotaxi event will happen this week? Well, I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think? Let's make a poll. Do you guys think we get a robotaxi event? I don't know. I feel like we would get an invitation or a flyer or something if we were getting the event. And so I'm starting to doubt if we're going to get it. If we don't, I think that's definitely a little bearish. Robotaxi event this week. Yes or no? What do you guys think? Yes or no? Let's see. If we get it. Call Steve. I don't know if Steve can do it tonight, bro. Steve was on already 2 hours ago. I'll text him and see if he's free. I don't think he's free tonight, guys. It's Sunday. He was free. We did like a 2.5 hour stream on Thursday. If not today, definitely we will have him on during the week. But even Steve also did SoFi Weekly. I heard some of what he said on Tesla. Or let me just, okay, if he can't join, let me call him right now. Let's see if we can get like 5 minutes, even if he can't actually join the stream. And we'll just get his thoughts on Tesla. And I think the stuff he said on Tesla, it's resonating with a lot of other people as well that are just like, hey, they're kind of annoyed with what Elon's doing. Now, granted, does that mean the stock has to go below 200? I don't think so. But obviously people are thinking that as well. Steve, what's up? How are you?
What's up?
Okay, so I'm doing my future show, and I wanted to get your take for 10 minutes if you have the time on Tessie. We spent some good time talking about it today. And yeah, I just wanted to ask you, I mean, a lot of people are divided on this. What do you think is happening right now with the stock and with Elon?
Let me get my headset. Hold on.
Okay, perfect.
Give me like 30 seconds.
All right, cool. All right, we'll get him on in a second. He did have a chicken parm on Friday. He did. But yeah, dude, I ultimately, if that robotaxi event doesn't happen, I think that's going to be a little scary. 58% of you say no. I don't know. I would say no only because we don't have any invitation yet, and usually they do it a week before. But who knows? Maybe they pop it out on the 11th, and then we'll know. Also, by the way, let me tell you something. So I talked to a former Tesla employee, and this is what he told me in my DMs. He said, "I have multiple friends in Tesla, and they said Elon is checked out." This is his words. Elon is completely checked out. I don't know what he is doing, but he has exactly 2 meetings a week. That's it. Saturday, Robotaxi, Sunday, Optimist. That's pretty much it. He doesn't attend the vehicle production meetings anymore, not vehicle engineering, vehicle software, etc. None of it. And also David Lau left, and David Lau was part of software. Now, that doesn't mean Tesla's going to zero. It just means that, hey, you also have people internally that are saying they feel that Elon's starting to be a little bit more checked out. Steve, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, yeah. So your thoughts on Tesla in general right now?
I mean, I'd be worried as a shareholder, considering I am a shareholder. I mean, I don't think that this is a good situation. I'm not changing my opinion on that until more information comes out, but I don't think it was a smart move what he did by any means. And I've been worried about Q2 deliveries. I think Q2 deliveries are going to be lower than Q1. Energy and services is not going to fill the void. And I am really skeptical about robotaxis as it is. And I don't think this past week helps that situation at all. You and I crunched the numbers. I don't see how that really benefits the company. I really don't.
Do you think Elon made such a big mistake that Tesla has to go back into the low 200s? Like, how are you thinking of the stock?
See, look, it doesn't have to do anything. There's going to be a whole region of people that remembers it being 450 and remembers it as the rule breaker that it always was. And this could be another dip that gets bought. I mean, nobody can accurately predict what's going to happen. I think it's going a lot lower, but it very well may go higher.
Okay, so here's kind of, I think the big question on everyone's mind is, what does this do to the auto deliveries? Because that obviously impacts a lot of the current multiples right now. If Cybertruck is 0% APR, they're trying to get demand. If the EV tax credit goes away, do you think the street, who's been giving a very generous multiple based on a fantasy currently, Robotaxi and Optimus, takes away that multiple if it really gets that bad in Q2?
I think that could happen, yes. I really do. I mean, you laid it out perfectly. EV tax credit is very big for a lot of people. He alienated half the population going into the election and then further alienated after the election. So when you're selling products, the last thing you want to do is alienate anybody. And now that he just had a falling out, let's keep in mind, Elon is not bigger than President Trump.
I agree.
And I said it before, it doesn't matter if it was President Biden or President Trump. President Biden got over 70 million votes for president. Same with Trump. So nobody should think that Elon's bigger than either of those two men. And he just went against President Trump after already alienating what used to be his base. This is somebody who in 2020 got 74 million votes. So people were not on the Trump bandwagon because of Elon. They were already there. Now, the base that I guess they were hoping would fill the void may not anymore. And legislation on robotaxis could stall. And even if it doesn't stall, I still don't believe in the whole robotaxi thing, because even at $1 per mile, the unit of economics does not provide a scenario where normal individuals will replace their everyday driving vehicle that they own. The only thing it works for is people who do not commute to and from work and just need a ride here and there.
What is the probability that Elon and Trump kiss and make up, in your opinion?
I don't know.
I think it's greater than 50%.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, but Elon needs to make things right. Not just for Tesla shareholders, but SpaceX is on the line here.
Yeah, if I bought SpaceX shares at a $350 billion valuation in December, I would be a little nervous right now.
My uncle just bought SpaceX shares the other week.
I mean, look, like Starlink is amazing, but he needs the other contracts to really, justify the valuation outside of just Starlink, in my opinion.
Yeah, Starlink is amazing, but guess what? They need the FCC.
Yeah. And
it's just, I would not be buying Tesla here by any means. Not to mention, even if everything goes right and Tesla goes up a little bit and gets out of the rut, is it going to go up more than NVIDIA or Amazon? I doubt it. Plus, I'd rather be in Amazon or NVIDIA at this point.
I don't think max pain is below 200. I think if we really do get a bad dip, it'll be the April lows, so like 212. And I would see that as an opportunity. So I guess here's the question. I would see that as an opportunity. I would want to substantially increase the position. If we get to, let's call it 200, do you feel attracted at that point? Like, all right.
No.
Okay, so why? What's the reason?
All right, I'll lay the scenario out. Hypothetically, we don't know what's going to happen. Let's just hypothetically say this happens. Q2 deliveries come in lower than Q1, and energy and services do not grow enough to offset it. Financial situation, they're fine on the balance sheet, but revenue declines a little bit and they're not as profitable.
Yeah.
The Fed does not cut in a week and a half, and they don't cut in July, and they make their first rate cut in September. That means you have the whole summer when students are saving up, people are saving up money for college or for high school, and whatever. Your deliveries in Q3 go down too, because now the EV tax credit could potentially go away if the bill gets passed over the summer, and interest rates are still the same.
No, the EV tax credit will go away because the bill is definitely getting passed. Right?
But it hasn't been passed yet. So hypothetically, let's say it gets passed and it gets signed into law. EV tax credit does. And if the Fed doesn't cut rates, the cars are actually way more expensive because now, in addition to not having the $7,500 credit, you still have high interest rates. So Q3 numbers may look even worse than Q2, and then you have an elongated trend of less deliveries and less revenue. This is a very bad situation for them. And even if they show off a great robo-taxi event with all the bells and whistles, where's it getting launched? 1 or 2 cities? How much revenue is that really going to bring? Uber already has things on lock. People are probably not going to download a new app, transfer information, put a credit card in. It's just convenience. It is just convenience. And then what happens when Uber starts buying Tesla cabs and puts it on their network? Tesla gets the revenue for the sale of the vehicle, but they don't get the incremental revenue.
Yeah, I mean, look, so that is one narrative in which robotaxi could fail, which is fair, or at least not work out. I think the more interesting thing that you're talking about is the time it's going to take for deliveries to ramp up meaningfully. So then it's going to keep not growing. And then B, let's say you're wrong and robotaxi does work. That is still about 1.5 years away.
It's still 1.5 years away, most likely.
So the question is, can the stock hold a aggressive multiple while not growing earnings for the next, call it 2 years?
It can, but I don't think it will.
I think
that Elon has damaged the brand so much that this could be the straw that makes people say, you know what, I'm done. NVIDIA, AI is just so much more. And honestly, Tesla shareholders should be pissed off at Elon because they've gotten screwed over in every which way. Forget how much the stock is up. People actually think that they own SpaceX and XAI because they're a Tesla shareholder. They don't own it. Those are private companies. They're not on the Tesla balance sheet.
That part is weird. The fact that Tesla doesn't, that part is weird. But look, my point is, I spoke to a bunch of other shareholders this week. A lot of them are pissed off, like you're saying, but still, okay, let me give you this stat. $7 billion of retail inflows last week. 65% of those $7 billion went into Tesla stock. This, I think if we get a substantial dip, which to me, substantial is 215, that dip gets bought up. I really do.
It could. It could, because people are going to look at the chart and say every time it gets to this level, it rebounds. It could very well get bought up. But even if a dip gets bought up for the next couple of weeks, you're not going to be able to hide when deliveries come. You're not going to be able to hide whatever Q2 earnings are.
No, but Q1 was already disgusting on both of those metrics, and the market didn't care.
That's what I'm saying. A dip could get bought up now, but once Q2 deliveries and Q2 earnings come out, there's nowhere to hide, especially if the tax credit goes away and the Fed doesn't cut rates.
So I agree with you, but I'm saying there was nowhere to hide on Q1 either, and the stock went up. You know?
But in Q1, there wasn't a falling out with Trump. There was not a $7,500 EV credit going away. That was more recent that we found that out. I don't believe it was when Tesla reported. It may have been. But there's going to be less cover. And Elon was not, even though Elon's always been a little out there, he was never in full meltdown mode like this. Like that whole tweet that he sent that he's got backers at 420 to take stock private, that was nothing compared to what happened now.
Do you think in the next couple of months, the Trump-Elon story, like they just go their separate ways and it's an amicable breakup? Or do you think one of them brings up something that makes it ugly?
I mean, for the good of the company of Tesla, for the good of the employees, for the good of the shareholders, it would be nice if they were very cordial toward each other and all of this blew over and stopped.
Which Trump was on Air Force One. He said, I wish him the best. That's it.
He's being, and that's saying a lot because he holds a grudge. So he's being very cordial at the moment, which is unlike him.
Yeah.
So It would be nice if they could put this behind them and just go their separate ways. That would be the best thing for Tesla, or patch things up and act like this never happened. Who knows? But if they don't, I think it's bad for all Musk companies.
Yeah. Look, I do think that Elon and Tesla have been through some horrible situations, and I wouldn't bet against Elon. This one feels really bad, but I'm just trying to figure out what price do I get to buy the dip at. That's quite frankly, like, it's not a question of do I not want to be in. It's a question of do we get the opportunity to get much lower. You're kind of more of the opposite. You're just like, I'm kind of done. I just want to get the hell out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not rushing to get out, but I'm over the whole Tesla hype. There's too many red flags and there's too many other opportunities. I mean, I keep going back to NVIDIA because Tanner and I have a different opinion on where it goes and how fast it gets there, but we both have the same opinion and the trajectory is going to be higher. And I believe he thinks 200 by end of the year. I think it's more 175 by end of the year. I think it can be 200, 225 this time next year.
Right.
So that's also a company that their cash from operations is growing every quarter. Their free cash flow is growing. They have over a 50% margin for free cash flow. And it's growing. And they're buying back a ridiculous amount of stock. And their EPS is expanding. And we just got into sovereign AI and enterprise AI. It's a much safer play right now than Tesla.
Right.
So I think that Tesla's got a very difficult road ahead of them. And the biggest allure of Tesla, look, my dad said it the other day. He needs to get another car. He wanted to buy a Tesla. But he's like, there's no reason to. He said, one, I don't want to deal with somebody vandalizing my car when I'm in the supermarket or somewhere, because then it's just time out of my day. I have to go get it fixed. Two, if it can't drive me around, why am I buying it?
It's look, I think the vandalism is starting to like die down, but it's perception, right? If your dad is afraid about that, he doesn't want to deal with it.
It's perception. It's more, he doesn't want to take time. God forbid it happens. It's just a headache that he wouldn't have with any other vehicle he can buy. Nobody's vandalizing a freaking Lexus or a Subaru or a Mazda or a BMW. Nobody's vandalizing those cars.
Yeah.
Obviously, any car can get vandalized, but you know what I mean. Nobody's vandalizing it because of this.
Yeah, and then the thing you said about FSD, I mean, like your dad has a point. Like if it's not going to really drive him around without having to like it's not unsupervised yet, you know?
Like he would get it in a heartbeat if it was unsupervised. In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
The fact that it's not, and the fact that nobody really knows when that's going to happen, that's the biggest selling point to him for a Tesla.
Any quick take on these protests in LA? You have any comment on what's going on?
I haven't really watched the news this weekend. I have no idea what's going on.
Well, we're staring at Waymos being burned on fire right now. Which is kind of
why are Waymos being burned on fire?
I don't know why they're targeting Waymos, bro. like you think they target Teslas or something. They're targeting Waymos.
I don't know. Destruction of property is a pretty crazy thing. Like, for what reason? Just to go to jail? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think they're doing Waymos because they know it's a car that doesn't have a driver in it, so they can burn it up or whatever. I don't know.
But Tesla worries the hell out of me right now, because this could be the time it does not rebound.
Okay, but this is what I disagree with. I think the sentiment is so negative that I think this is where you go contrarian and you go.
I think it gets worse.
I think it definitely can get worse, but based on the post I put out this weekend, and I'm seeing long-term Tesla bulls telling me they're trimming 10% of their position, I think that's enough to be like, okay, there's a lot of negativity here. Maybe we get the reversal. Just like when it was at 212, everyone said it was going to go to 150 on earnings, and that didn't happen.
Here's a hot take. It goes under 150. How about that?
See, if we have a bull market, Steve, I don't see that happening. I don't see 6,500 on the S&P and Tesla's at 150.
What if they miss? What if they miss earnings?
They're going to miss. We already know they're going to miss earnings.
And then what if they miss again in Q3?
They probably will.
It becomes less and less and less of a reason for a super high multiple on the company.
No, but Tesla is for the past 2 years, Tesla has had zero reason outside of the hope and dreams to have a high multiple. So what would make it that much worse in Q3? I mean, it would have to be an abomination.
Because now there may be a nail in the coffin on those hope and dreams.
Yeah, but I don't think the falling out with Trump is a nail in the coffin on Tesla. I think it's annoying as hell, but
it's not a nail in the coffin as if the company is going to go under, but it is a nail in the coffin for speedy regulations actually being approved.
Okay, so talk to me about that. Do you actually think Trump, if he's trying to be cordial, would stop regulations to target Tesla specifically? Because I kind of don't think that happens.
I don't think he's going to do anything to speed up the process.
Okay, that's fair.
And that's just as bad.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
Because you know how government red tape works.
Yeah, I just don't think he would purposely try to stop.
I'm not saying he would. All I'm saying is he's not going to make a phone call to get things greenlit.
What if he does, and then like Elon feels bad because like Trump's helping him out? Like, I wonder how that would play out. Like, what if Trump is really for the first time in his life, Trump is the bigger man, and he like helps Elon even though he shouldn't be, given the falling out? Like, Tesla stock would go crazy. And then I wonder how Elon, and maybe, I don't know. Maybe Elon pledges his loyalty again to him. I don't know.
If robo-taxis does not get rolled out this year, and if it doesn't become a significant source of revenue, and if there is no plan for next year about how to make it a significant source of revenue, and if deliveries continue to decline and revenue continues to decline, this thing's going under 150.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. It's definitely freaking possible. I mean, look, humanoids.
There are too many other opportunities out there.
Yeah, and humanoids are not coming anytime soon. I mean, Figure just posted a video, but the robot was doing some pretty basic shit, right? Like,
no. Amazon is working on their own stuff now.
Yeah, and obviously I don't know if Amazon's going to beat Tesla when it comes to this, but the fact that they're another competitor is definitely a headwind.
Oh, I'm not saying that they're going to beat Tesla. I'm just saying that could mean that they're not going to buy from Tesla.
Correct. Well, that's a great point.
Which would be horrible for Tesla.
Yeah. No, I agree. I my max pain is still 215. That's what I'm going with.
We'll see.
I did 215 in a raging bull market. I think you buy that freaking dip and you hold your nose. Like, I don't think you complain about that.
Look, for Tesla shareholders, I hope it does not go under 200. I do not want negativity. I would like things to go up. I want people to make money. But when I look at the numbers, to me, and then I look at the sentiment, I look at what's going on, this could finally be the situation that makes Tesla come back to reality with where it should be.
Yeah, I don't agree with it because, dude, Tesla should be at $30. All of this is known about.
I mean, it shouldn't be at 30, but you know,
like if you take away Elon, the hopes and the dreams, all that stuff.
80 to 120 isn't crazy.
No, but my point is, by I'm saying 30 hyperbolically to say like Tesla should be way lower than it is if we were just looking at the numbers, as you said. I don't think even with the falling out that it falls, that it's the nail in the coffin, as you're saying. I don't believe in that, but I do think it could create a juicy dip.
Too much of the bull case is predicated around what ifs and what they may do in the future.
Well, the bull case has always been about what ifs, right? It's always been about this timeline.
Now the what ifs are now up in the air.
Well,
that's the problem.
True, but the one thing that is also certain is that FSD is real. Like, it's not fake anymore.
We know it's real, but we don't know how it's going to get rolled out, how regulation is going to occur, and then how people are even going to insure it, and if insurance companies are going to allow them to.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can go down the insurance rabbit hole, but my point is, if the robot, like, I think this is the thesis, because let's forget humanoids. If robo-taxis in the next 18 months, which is the timeline Elon had for hundreds of thousands of them by the end of 2026, if that ends up playing out, I don't think this stock goes anywhere near 150, dude. Like that's just too real for people to see, and they will pay a higher multiple. They will. Retail will buy that any dip that they get when they can get into a robotaxi. And if it damn near gets the price lower than an Uber, then we're really talking, right? Even if it doesn't turn into Kathy Wood's bull case or whatever. So
get a calculator. Get a calculator out.
We're not doing this again. We did this for 2 hours. We're not doing it again.
I'm just saying. What's 100,000 times 20,000?
Look, I get you. I get it. You don't believe in the thesis. I totally understand.
I'm just saying. If generates 20,000 of revenue, and you got 100,000, then what is that? $2 billion a year of revenue?
I don't even if hundreds of thousands of robotaxis are on the road and they're giving people rides, I think people will buy the stock regardless of what the revenue numbers look like. Now, that doesn't mean it's justified, but if it's better than a Waymo experience, people get to feel it. This stock's going higher. It's not going to be stuck because of the growth rates. Eventually, the growth has to be there. I agree with you. Eventually, Kathy's thesis has to play out. Which, by the way, she went on a podcast and she said Tesla will 10x in 5 years. So
yeah, she's been wrong in so many things.
She got Tesla right. This is let me just share. There's a 50-second video. You can hear what she had to say.
If I just had to invest in one stock right now, what stock would you recommend I invested in?
Okay, well, I have to give you
your portfolio.
Pick.
So it'd be Tesla.
It would be Tesla if I had to give you one stock.
Okay, interesting.
Because think about it. It is a convergence among three of our major platforms. So robots, energy storage, AI. And it's not stopping with robo-taxis. There's a story beyond that with humanoid robots. And our $2,600 number has nothing for humanoid robots. We just thought it'd be an investment period. And, but I think he's going to start generating not only productivity gains internally, but revenues from humanoid robots.
I wish they use robots in their freaking in their model because it would make it more believable.
She hurts my brain. So 2,600 by when?
2030. So that's a 10x. Yeah, that's 10x from here. She's this dude. I remember in 2022 when she said ARK will CAGR at 45% for the next 5 years. I think ARK is CAGR'd at like -4% or something. I mean, like.
Oh, because nobody understands growth.
No one understands growth. Yeah. Look, this is like Dan Ives saying Palantir will go to $1 trillion in 2 years. It's just annoying to have someone.
Palantir has got a better chance of going to $1 trillion in 2 years than Tesla going to 2,600. Come on.
I agree. I think Palantir to $1 trillion before Tesla to what market cap is that? 10 trillion? I think. Yeah. I think.
I will, and you know how much I despise Palantir's valuation right here. I have a much easier time believing Palantir to $1 trillion than Tesla to 10 trillion or whatever the hell the market cap will be.
Elon just retweeted JD Vance repost of Trump. So Trump, to summarize his tweet, was like, "Hey, we need to stop the protests." JD says this moment calls for decisive leadership. The president will not tolerate rioting and violence. Elon quote tweeted it with 2 flag emojis. Every time he shows kind of support for Trump here, I think it's gonna be psychoanalyzed because people want to figure out does like, dude, if the guy's on the Epstein list, right? Like, you don't tend to be a guy who wants to support that. But if he deleted the tweet and now he's resharing Trump, it kind of feels like he's off of his high or whatever he was.
Elon should have said that look, if I was Elon, I would just say, look, my microdose got messed up. I went insane. Stain on me. And just forget the whole thing ever happened. I would blame it on something like that. Like, you don't, even if you have proof, which I have no idea if there is, there isn't, right? You don't freaking put that out there.
Yeah, but like, what if he didn't microdose? What if he genuinely just felt his ego was bigger than the president's?
That's even scarier.
Yeah, that's like not.
And that's the other thing. Like, this is a guy that's running 5 companies. That's even scarier.
And I think a lot of stuff that pissed off the Tesla bulls was that he deleted the tweet. So any normal person, which has any objective person that also has a lot of their net worth in Tesla would be like, wait a second, so he ruined the relationship for nothing? Like, because like if you delete the tweet, you're acknowledging you were wrong, right? And so saying that and then just going back from what you assumed or implied, I think is the scary part right here. And it begs the question, like, what was he thinking when he tweeted that? Was he just mad about Jared Isaacman? Was he just mad about the spending bill?
I don't know, but there are too many other opportunities out there to be caught up in this.
I will agree with that. There's a lot of other opportunities.
Tesla's going to have very hard comps the next couple of quarters, yet there are some companies that are going to do some really interesting things. And there's just other plays out there. Unless you say that you're buying it for the next 10 years and you don't care where it goes, and if it gets to 100, you're going to buy more in dollar cost average, that's a different story, because ultimately robotics is going to be the next big thing. And they're going to be a leader in that. But in the short term, I can completely see this going very much lower.
Yeah, I can see it lower. I don't know if it's as low as you think, but I guess, look, if it loses 270 as support and then we lose 250, then I think it's look out below. But we got at least $30 before we see that. How do you think
I mean, look, they're projecting 98% chance no cut now in June.
Oh, we're not getting a cut in June. No way. No way. How do you think he got the black eye?
You get punched in the face.
By who?
Somebody in the cabinet.
You think someone in the cabinet punched him in the face?
Either that or Secret Service.
I don't believe Basent punched him in the face, bro. Everyone's saying Basent punched him.
I mean, I don't think it was Basent, but I think somebody did. Look, I've been around enough people. I've never seen anybody with a freaking black eye from their kids. Ever.
Yeah, I mean, a 4-year-old doing that is a little hard to believe.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
You know, our company has 4,000 people in it. I've never seen this in my life. Not to mention being around all my friends' kids and everything. Never has this ever happened. Like, run a poll in your chat. Do you know anybody that got black eye from their kids?
No, everyone's agreeing with you right now. It's very weird. Very weird.
The only situation is either throwing a lacrosse ball around or throwing a baseball around, and somehow you're distracted and it hits you in the face. That's the only way, and that rarely happens. It's just, he's a 260-pound guy who did train jiu-jitsu for a little bit. I'm not buying that his son flung like a pest truck or something in his face. I'm not buying it.
Well, look, here's my thing. I put out a tweet today, and I said, it looks like sentiment on Tesla seems to be changing. And it's just funny, the pushback I'm getting from this. I'm like, dude, the stock's from 370 to 295. How is that not an argument that sentiment has changed to the tune of a couple $100 billion that left market cap? And so I do agree. You have an argument here that there are some uber bulls that are not recognizing that people like yourself that have, shares in the company, you kind of don't care if they get called away if you have some covered calls on them because you're kind of done with the BS.
No, I got calls at 260 in September, and I could care less if they get called away.
Which is wild. Because you bought in at like what, 150, 170. So you have a decent average, I would say, on your stock.
150, and my average price is at 118, I think, because of all the covered calls I've sold.
Mm.
Yeah, I could care less if they get called away.
See, that's not a good thing. That is sentiment.
This is not a situation where I will be rolling to protect the position. I will let them get called away, and I'll use the cash for something else.
Yeah, and see, that's the only difference I have with you is if my average is 118, I'm protecting those Tesla shares because I don't think it gets that low again. But you think it can, and that's fair.
Yeah, but I don't need to get that low again. If my shares get called away at 260 and it goes to 200 and I buy back in, I'm still ahead of the game. I just need to be below 260. I don't need to get to 118.
Yeah.
I mean, that money is better off somewhere else at this point. And look, especially with rate cuts eventually coming, look at SL Green. SL Green's back to 63. There's things that are going to work when rate cuts come in.
But I think Tesla is going to work when rate cuts come in as well. It's a growth stock. It's going to get some. So
Depends.
It absolutely depends. You're right about that.
It depends. $7,500 EV credit bye is really not good.
Okay, let's move on. I got a couple more questions for you. How did you feel about the S&P 500 for the first time in 3 years not doing a rebalance?
It doesn't bother me at all.
You didn't feel any type of way about that?
No.
Well, it's probably because you didn't have any companies you wanted to get in, did you?
I don't even know when rebalances happen. It's not something I pay attention to.
Dude, that was insanity that they didn't even issue a press release. That
you know what's insanity? Like, I gotta say, I agree with Chris a lot on this one. I saw his tweet about Robinhood having a bigger market cap than PayPal. That is insane to me.
Why? PayPal is not growing.
Oh my God.
Dude, I'll debate you on this one, bro.
PayPal buys back more shares every year than the revenue that Robinhood generates.
By the way, Elon just retweeted Trump, so maybe that's going to help a little. Maybe that's showing they're moving on a little bit. But it's a start. Yeah, it's a start. I don't know. Hopefully it blows over. But no, dude, PayPal is like, don't even put PayPal and Robinhood in the same conversation, bro. Like, don't even. It's not even.
I'm just saying that one company is extremely profitable and one company is just profitable. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, look, I PayPal's undervalued. You won't hear me say it's overvalued at all.
And I'm not saying that Robinhood should sell off. I'm just saying the fact that it has a bigger market cap than PayPal is kind of crazy to me.
It's not crazy, dude. The market pays for growth. We pay for growth. Like Robinhood's growing 50%. PayPal's growing 7%.
The market absolutely pays for growth. Look at Palantir.
Speaking of Palantir, okay, here's my question. We talked a little bit about this, but all this New York Times hit piece stuff, do you think it actually affects the stock over the next coming months?
Why would it?
Well, maybe you're just not tapped into it as much, but there's a lot of negativity around the brand right now.
Oh, from who?
No, dude, Steve, I'm not. Look, I should be the one underplaying it because I don't want this to spread, but even I can't deny that there is massive media organizations that are racking up millions of views. I'll send you the videos and you can see them, that are calling Palantir the most evil company in the world.
Yeah, because it gets clicks. Who cares?
No, I agree. But I'm just saying that obviously is hurting the brand.
People need to chill out. Guess what? Every keystroke that everybody makes is recorded. Everything you search for on your cell phone or through your cable provider is recorded. Like, I don't understand why people are getting so crazy over Palantir.
It gets clicks. No, look, I agree with you. I think it's stupid. And I think it dies down, and I don't think it has to affect the stock. However, the stock is not just about revenues or free cash flow. It's about the brand positioning. And right now, people are hearing about Palantir and they're thinking evil company, which is just not a good place to be in at all right now. I just wonder when people get bored of talking about it, because I think they will. Because there's no, unless they find some real evidence, which no one has been. I mean, the New York Times article, they mentioned the word could and potentially 7 times across all their pseudo acquisitions. And so, I don't know. I think it dies out as well, but it's not good to see. And dude, I was at the AI Expo. There were multiple journalists at the booth, like trying to find an angle, recording all this shit. Like at one point, the security guard had to come over. It's legit. Like people are really trying to find a way to tear them down. And I'm wondering, did a hedge fund pay the New York Times to write the article? Right? Like, do they want a better entry price?
Well, once against the New York Times, who cares?
See, that's what I thought. And then I realized the New York Times still has more influence than we think.
I don't know who reads any of that stuff.
Guess what?
Seriously.
Guess what the number 2 app? Guess what the number 2 app is in the iOS App Store in the news section?
What is it?
The New York Times.
Jesus Christ.
Dude, X is number 1. Number 2 is I was like, dude, I guess people still read this shit.
I don't know who reads newspapers or goes to a newspaper's website or app. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. I don't, them outside of business stuff, but, you know, we're a small part of the population, you know?
It's insane.
Shout out to Farzad. He said New York Times is trash. Bye. Farzad, thanks for being here, man. I will be doing a podcast with Farzad probably on like Wednesday. So we'll talk more about Elon.
Can we do something fun?
What?
I just sent you something. Which three are you taking to protect you?
What?
I just sent you a text. You got to choose 3 people to protect you out of these 9. Who are you taking? The crazy thing is you probably don't know who these people are.
See, guys, this is what I have to deal with. This is the shit that Steve sends me, bro. Like every day he sends me this
Yeah,
crazy
this
shit.
is a great exercise for mental gymnastics.
This is what I have to click on every day, guys. This shit.
Yeah, this is a great exercise for mental gymnastics.
All right, so it's on the screen. Everyone can see it. I would pick...
First, do you know who these people are?
Dude, I paid attention to WWE. I know some of these people.
Okay. There's only 3 that are WWE though.
Okay, still. I don't know. I'm picking Triple H, I feel like. Brock Lesnar, is he on the screen?
So Lesnar's in mine for a very specific reason. Because I wouldn't want Lesnar part of the other 6 bum rushing the 3 people that I have because of how freakishly strong and agile he is.
I picked Mike Tyson. I didn't even see Mike Tyson. I'll pick Mike Tyson. Yeah, that's what I pick. It's Mike freaking Tyson. I'll pick number 7, Mike Tyson. Simple.
Okay, so you got 7, 8, and you said 6 Triple H?
Probably, yeah.
So I'm definitely taking Lesnar because I don't want him on the other side, especially if you put him on the other side with how big and strong The Rock is. You just don't want them freaking doubling somebody. I'm definitely taking 9 because John Jones is the baddest man on the planet. And then you can't go wrong with Tyson, but at the same time, I kind of want Bruce Lee in there because you need somebody who can just kick and he's very versatile. So I'm going 5, 8, and 9.
Okay. We appreciate your analysis on the
and I can't believe they put number 2 in there. I cannot believe whoever made
we need to do this with stocks. We need to have 9 stocks and have people pick 3 of them as their. Yo, can we do that real quick? All right, can we do that to end out the show? Let's do that.
All right, we can do that, but I'm giving you one more. Hold on. This is more your speed. Hold on.
Can we do that? That's actually kind of fun.
Yeah, no, we can.
Okay. Guys, give me 9 stocks to put on a list. I'm going to put 9 stocks. That's how we're going to end out the show today. And we're going to see our top 3.
So click on this.
Steve, why is your algorithm like this, bro? Like,
because I click on, because I love fighting and I love food. Did you watch the UFC event this weekend?
No, I don't care. I was sleeping, bro. I don't care about the UFC.
Incredible. And the odds were so, I was going to bet on Kayla and freaking Merkovich. I mean, the odds were so bad. Kayla was -700. It was nuts.
Okay, you have to get rid of these 3 forever. I'm picking, I'd get rid of chips, I'd get rid of fries, and I'd get rid of ice cream.
So the first thing I'm getting rid of is cake. Don't need cake. Don't need cake.
Okay.
Getting rid of chips. Don't need chips. And I'm getting rid of fries.
Okay, so you and me just disagree on cake and
I can live on pizza. I need cookies. And I can get chocolate out of the cookies with the chocolate chips. And then ice cream, can't get rid of ice cream because then you can get any flavor you want. And you want chocolate, you got chocolate ice cream.
This is why you need to start the cooking channel, 100%.
Dude, let me just tell you something. I went to town today with eating. It was freaking great.
Okay. That's good. All right.
I had 2 ribeyes for dinner.
You have 2 what?
2 ribeyes.
Okay. So, all right. Look, I'm happy for you. All right. So let's pick the 9 stocks and you have to pick your top 3. So here's the 6 that I have. Palantir, Hood, Tesla, NVIDIA, Amazon, SoFi. I'm going to put a Rocket Lab on the list. I want to put HIMS on. I got to put HIMS on the list. And then one more. I'll do 2 more. We'll do a top 10. We'll do Meta. And then what's a sleeper pick? We'll do.
I'm writing these down. So you said Meta, Amazon, Nvidia, Palantir, HIMS.
Do we just do Google? Do we just do Google? All right, we'll make this one a little bit boring. In the future, we'll do ones that are a little harder. These are just like the top.
All right, give me the list again, please.
Okay, Palantir, Hood, Tesla, Nvidia, Amazon, SoFi, Rocket Lab, HIMS, Meta, Google. Top 3. What are people's top 3 they have to own for the next decade? We'll see who has the best list.
Top 3 to own for the next decade?
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy.
It is kind of easy. This one's easy. We'll do this again in the future with some harder names, but this is kind of easy.
Yeah, we got to make this hard. That's pretty fucking easy.
Dude, okay, so I want to say Palantir, Tesla, Nvidia, but then I lose Hood. And so I got to get rid of one of them for Hood. I'm not getting rid of Palantir for Hood. I think it's Palantir, Hood, Tesla, because Nvidia, if it's cyclical, then at least I get Optimus with Tesla long term.
Wow, ours are going to be completely different.
You wouldn't pick Palantir, Hood, Tesla? I feel like that's the most obvious.
No, hell no. Hell no.
Well, you're picking Google, Amazon, Meta, SoFi? That's what you're doing?
Meta, Amazon, Nvidia.
But for the next decade, I feel like Nvidia.
Yep.
Dude, although I'm bullish, I still think eventually growth slows down.
Meta, Amazon, Nvidia.
Rowan says Palantir, HIMS, Tesla. Matthew says Palantir, Tesla, Amazon. Meta, Nvidia, Amazon. A lot of other people agree with yours. Palantir, Tesla, Hood. Palantir, HIMS, Rocket Lab. Tesla, Nvidia,
because remember, you're taking the stocks from where they are today, not from where they were 2 years ago.
Dude, someone said SoFi. I mean...
Dude, if my SoFi shares get called away this week, oh my God.
Dude, it's almost at 15. Why are you upset?
No, I'm not. Dude, I will reallocate that money so quick. I'm not mad at all.
I mean...
Why would I be mad?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
I'll buy some more freaking Misty.
All right, we're gonna do this again, guys, and we're gonna do like an NCAA. Dude, we should do an NCAA bracket stream with 64 stocks and get to the final one. Even though my final one's gonna be Palantir. We got to find a way to make it like cooler. Can't just be 64-1. It needs to be like a team of 5 that we pick at the end.
I mean, we could do something like that.
That would be a fun stream, right? That'd be a fun one.
I don't know if we could do 64. We could start at the Sweet 16 or something like that. Because what are we going to do? Put in companies like Coca-Cola and Pepsi that we know are getting knocked down in round 1 or 2?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it would just be a waste of time for so much. Like, we can condense and do 16 companies. We could even do start at the round of 32 if we want. But starting at 64, I mean, you're talking about a lot of companies that are not ending up anywhere near the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I agree. It's a fair point. All right, so we have CPI this week. Are you excited at all for the data this week or no?
No, not really. I think it's going to be flat.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be flat. It's going to be a flat week. I mean, CPI.
I think CPI is flat.
Yeah, stock draft. Exactly. It should be a stock draft. That's what we do. Yeah, that's how we do it. We do a stock. So instead of a bracket, it's a draft. Like we'll pick 30 names. You and I get to pick probably 10, and then we compare my 10 versus your 10. That works.
Yeah, and we need to track them and see which ones do well over the next 6 months or a year.
Yeah, basically, I make my ETF, you make your ETF, but we do it in a draft way so that if I pick Palantir, you can't pick Palantir, etc. And
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, you don't even want Palantir. I know you. So
no, take Palantir right now.
Dude, you're so disrespectful to Palantir.
I'm not disrespectful. Palantir, $310 billion valuation. Take it.
It's cheap.
I'll give it to you for free.
Dude, 310? It's gonna be freaking 3 trillion.
If you tell me that we're gonna flip a coin to see who goes first, but if you tell me you're taking Palantir first, I'll give you the number 1 pick.
Okay. I'm taking. Don't take Hood either. I want both of those.
You have fun. Have fun. Package deal.
Okay, so don't take Tesla either. Don't take Tesla either then.
Dude, package deal. Your first pick, we each get to pick 2 companies. As long as you're picking those 2 companies, you can go first.
Don't pick Tesla then. Leave Tesla third for me. Don't pick Tesla.
Oh, you want to do three off the bat, so we don't take each other's top 3, and then we do 1 for 1. If you want those 3, you can have them. Have fun.
Okay, so I'll take Palantir, Hood, Tesla. You're obviously going to take NVIDIA, Amazon, and Meta, and then it becomes a real debate.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Over the next year? You kidding me?
Okay, we need to do this with Tanner and make it even harder. We need to have like 50 names and do it with Tanner.
But in all seriousness, you think that the combination of appreciation from right now for the next year, the combination of Tesla, Palantir, and Hood does better than Meta, Amazon, NVIDIA?
Yes.
I'll bet you dinner on that.
Dude, look, Meta and Amazon, I don't see them 3x.
I'll bet you dinner on that.
Dude, Steve, these are multi-trillion-dollar companies. It's not easy for them to double as much as you think it is.
Nobody's going to be surprised when Meta hits 1,000.
But that's not a double. Hood, no one's going to be surprised if it hits 120.
Palantir is not doubling in the next year.
You don't know. You don't.
Oh, sure.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I don't know if it hits 600 billion. I'm channeling my inner Dan Ives right now. But yeah, I mean, it'll be fun. I think we should we should get you, me, Chris, and Tanner. We should have like 50 stocks. Each of us, probably 75. Each of us pick 10.
75, just take the freaking S&P 500.
No, because there needs to be, there needs to be a lack of choice. There needs to be a finite amount so that it makes it hard to pick. Maybe 50. 50 is good. So we have to take 40 off the board. So there'll be 10 losers that are left. That's a good idea, dude. It's a good one. That'd be really fun. And then everyone has to justify why they take each pick. And we can do multiple rounds of this. This is good. I'm gonna put you guys in group chat, and we'll try to do this probably like maybe on a Thursday. Let's see if yeah, and we're gonna have to flip a coin to see who goes first because Tanner's gonna want NVIDIA. So Chris is gonna take the cruise lines and shit. But
no, I don't think he will because we're not talking about options.
That's true. That's true as well.
No, his portfolio would be much different.
All right, I'll work on this, guys. I will set this up. Hopefully Thursday. I'm usually free on Thursday, so this will be a fun one if we can do it. All right, Steve. Good stuff. We will talk to you during the week. And yeah. So you said you had 2 ribeyes this weekend?
No, today.
You're talking about 2 ribeye steaks, right?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
And my freaking breakfast was ridiculous.
Yeah, also, tell everyone what you did on Saturday.
What did I do on Saturday?
You texted me. You did something on Saturday that you haven't done in a long time.
Oh, I went to the gym.
What was the impetus to go to the gym?
I went to the gym again today.
Really? Are you trying to get healthy again? What's going on? What are you doing?
I don't know, but I went to the gym both days. No supplements, no protein powder, no nothing.
Are you catching the gym bug again? Is like, what's going on?
I'm just eating like a freaking dog right now.
Well, you're probably eating so much because you're working out and you're hungry, right?
Yeah, what's scary is that halfway through my workout today, I felt like I was getting stronger, and I was like, this is not good. I cannot start lifting heavy. I'm too old to be lifting heavy.
You're not too, dude, you're 42. You're not too old. What are you talking about? You're too old to be lifting heavy.
Yeah, lifting heavy, like, I'm not talking about putting up 225.
Well, how much do you lift?
When I was lifting, I was repping out 12 to 15 reps of 315.
Dude, that's nothing. I do 370. Get out of here.
Okay.
315. That's heavy. Fuck out.
12 to 15 reps. That was my working set.
You gotta get your weight up, bro. That's nothing.
You know what, a minute? If I will take you to a gym. If you can bench 370, I will go to the ATM and I will pull everything out of that account and hand it to you.
Okay, that was a bit disrespectful the way you said that.
It is not. You weigh like 160. You weigh 160.
I want to get down to 140, bro. Yo, you know what I want to do this summer? know what I want to do?
You do not want to get down to 140.
I want to become skinny. That is my goal for the next
But you are skinny.
I'm not skinny, bro. I have a little bit of a gut. I want to get it down. I want to get down to 140. And I want to kind of develop a new aesthetic as I become my own man.
How tall are you?
On a good day, 5'8". On a regular day, 5'7".
Okay.
And
you do not want to get to 140. Just say you
okay,
want to have a
150.
six-pack.
150. I want to get to 150.
Just say you want to have a six-pack. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but not just a six-pack. Like I wanted, dude, last time I was skinny. And people can go to my videos in October 2023, dude. Like, I'm gonna show you guys what I look like. Like you can see it in my face. I want to go back to that. I want to go back to freaking like you could tell I was freaking skinny, bro.
All right, so get up at 5 a.m. and go run 3 miles every morning.
You know, that's exactly, now that I'm not traveling for the next 3 months, that's exactly what I want to do. Really,
that's what you should. If you really want to get skinny, go run 3 miles, 4 miles in the morning, and then after you stream, go lift.
Yes.
And just lift for reps. Don't lift for freaking strength.
Yeah, look at this video, guys. Look at this. Look, dude, guys, when you see this, you're gonna be like, "Holy crap!" Amit is definitely bigger than he was back then. Look at this shit. Look at this. Look at this. Look at my face, bro. Look, Steve can't see it right now, but look at this. Look at that shirt, bro. You can freaking see my Adam's apple. Like, there's no skin above. Like, I want to get to that weight again, and I'm gonna need to freaking work my ass off to get there. But yeah, dude, I want to get skinny. I want my aesthetic at the end of the summer to be a little bit more tailored towards like wearing clothes that highlights that I'm skinny.
Don't tell me you're gonna start buying skinny jeans.
No, not skinny jeans. I just I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. I want to be skinnier and ripped as well. But like,
you are skinny.
I'm not skinny, bro.
You should just go for getting ripped.
Zep Pound will do it for you. No, I'm not skinny, bro. I was not. Yo, this is a fact, bro. Someone said that's when you were poor. They're like, dude, there is a thing behind making a little bit more money in life and then like letting yourself go a little bit, you know, because you start eating a little bit better, you start not caring as much. For me, I don't even think it's about that. It's about the level of growth that the brand has seen in the past 2 years. Has dealt with a lot of traveling, a lot of streaming for 10 hours a day, and then you just have no time, even if it's a shitty excuse, but you have no time to work out or like eat right. And so that I need to learn how to deal with and adjust. But that can't be a good excuse, you know? So
I mean, it's not a good excuse. I don't know. I could stop going to the gym freaking at the end of this week. Like I just said, I want to go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week because my body is starting to feel aches and pains in my back. So I need to start lifting again.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys there's a lot of funny comments here. But I don't know. I just want to get skinny, bro. I want to, by the end of the summer. And I know how to do it. I've done this 2 times in my life. I've gone through the journey. I've just been freaking lazy on this part of my life for the past year and a half because of just like everything else.
It's not hard. Just go into a calorie deficit.
No, I know.
Fucking water.
That's what I did. It's easy.
Hard.
It's not hard to lose. People think it's complicated, bro. People think they like.
No, losing weight's easy. It's the discipline behind it to actually do it. You just need to go into a calorie deficit, eat clean, and drink water.
Yes.
It's not rocket science.
Yes, 100%.
Like the easiest way to lose weight, do paleo. Easiest way to lose weight.
I agree.
I freaking dropped when I did, and I started doing paleo again a couple of days ago. We'll see how long it lasts. But I haven't had any junk food in the past couple of days. But when I did paleo hardcore, I dropped, I think, 28 pounds in 2 months, something like that.
Yeah. Dude, when I was burning freaking 1,500 calories a day, caloric deficit back in October 2023, I started in July. By October, like, it was easy to lose weight. Like in a month, I was down like 10 pounds, and it was healthy weight that I was losing. It wasn't even like, you know, it wasn't like I wasn't eating or anything. I was still eating, but yeah, it's not hard to lose weight. It's not hard.
No, you just gotta eat clean.
But I'm not lying. I can't do 370, and I'm surprised you can only do 315. So, you know.
In all seriousness, if you're able to bench 370, I would be absolutely shocked, only because of your weight and your density.
All right, so we got to go to the gym, dude. I got to show you.
I don't know, because I don't want you trying something and hurting yourself.
I can bench 370. I'm not going to hurt myself, bro. I can do it. I can do it. Also, guys, look. I got this from AIPCon. Steve, you can't see it. It's a Palantir. It's a paperweight. Palantir paperweight. It's pretty cool. So that will be added to the back as well. Steve, you know someone got me a real brick? Have I showed you that? At the Boston meetup, someone got me a real brick, like a legit brick, physical brick.
It goes well with your cowbell.
It goes very well with the cowbell. I've missed rigging the cowbell for the past. I forgot to bring it with me to DC, so I had to like play a cowbell sound instead.
Did you get Carp to sign it?
No, I did not get Carp to sign.
You should get Carp to sign your cowbell.
I have a signed hat with Carp, but I don't have a signed cowbell. But yeah, eventually. No, I do have real bricks on the wall, guys. I just want to, there was also another real brick that a subscriber gave me. So, I just didn't feel like taking out the actual real bricks. Steve, in the new apartment, I feel like we got to bring the bricks. I feel like it's not going to be.
You do whatever you want.
I feel like it's not going to be the same without the bricks. Dude, it's happening in 2 months. Dude. I got to like start preparing and shit. Like actually getting furniture and all that stuff. It's like a lot of planning that's involved now. That's another reason I'm not traveling for the next 2 months. I just want to stay home and do the market open, market close every day. Dude, we were talking about this yesterday, right? Earnings is going to start in like another 3 weeks. Like it's
no, not 3, but like 5 weeks.
Oh, you're right. July 11th. Yeah, roundabout. Or July 8th, I think. The banks will start. I'll give you the exact date. Banks will start. It's crazy. 4 times a year.
Right around the corner. It's great.
Right around the corner. Banks start. Yeah, July 10th. There you go. So July 10th, July 11th. We have a month until we get back to earnings. People are saying doing a gym stream. Dude, when I go to the new place, the gym is actually really good. So maybe I would be able to stream. It doesn't help that my grandmother is asking me to eat something every hour. Like, and you guys probably know this if you have Indian grandmothers or even anywhere in that Asia part of the world, Southeast Asia, West Asia. There's this obsession with eating and like constantly eating something. And like every hour.
You, when we go to Patsy's, you're gonna freaking be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this."
We're doing that on like 2 Fridays, right? June 20th, I think.
Yeah, dude. Freaking the amount of food we're gonna put back is gonna be nuts.
Yeah, bro. Every hour she's asking me to eat something, and she was supposed to go to a party with my mom today, like some Indian party, and it was the funniest thing ever this morning, bro. The hour before, my grandma. She asks my mom, is there going to be any non-veg? Is there going to be any chicken at the party? And my mom was like, yeah. She's like, I'm not going. My mom was so pissed, bro. Because my mom bought her a ticket and all this stuff. But my grandma's like, she hates people eating meat. Like, she cannot stand it, dude. She's just like, that's who she is. So it was so funny. She was just like, yeah, I'm not going. And my mom was so pissed off because she wanted her to go. But that's the other thing. If I eat chicken in this house, I have to like eat it in my room so she can't see anything. The bricks are a must in your new home. It's your trademark. Yeah, I think so. I think we gotta have it. Dude, and I eat steak. Yeah, she doesn't know I eat steak, but I do. So, all right, cool stuff. I think we're gonna end it out here. They're my mom. Yeah, they're my mom parents. My dad's parents. They both passed 2 years ago, so they're my mom parents. All right. I think Steve dipped as well. He probably has it on.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here. I'm just listening to how you eat steak. Yet,
Yeah, she doesn't know.
You don't really eat steak.
No, I do really eat steak. What are you talking about? I have some nice medium well steak, bro. I love it.
Yeah, you eat steak, but you don't eat steak.
I do eat
All
steak,
right.
dude. I eat steak like a man. You eat steak like freaking like you freaking want to bite into the cow like or something. Like it's like no, dude. Like you cook the steak, you make sure the pink is gone, and you eat it. It's not that complicated.
Yeah, that's sacrilegious.
We're gonna have to get you medium well one day, dude. One day.
You can try.
All right, Steve. I'm gonna set up this stock draft. I'll talk to you. Hopefully Thursday night we'll do it. And
all right, sounds good.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. Thank you, Steve. Talk to you later.
Later, guys.
Dude, I'm telling you guys, medium well is not a bad thing. It's just not a bad thing. It really is better than what most people think. But you have to try it. You have to freaking try it. All right. Are we done? Are we done for the day? Dude, I'm happy we're back in the studio. Back on the futures. Any picks with Carpet Apicon? I did not get a pick with Carpet Apicon. He was a bit busy at this one. Obviously, he's dealing with a bit of a crisis when it comes to his company being attacked from every angle. So did not get any picks with Carp at this one, but he was in good spirits. It's just obviously you guys could tell he was pretty damn pissed off about everything that's going on with the New York. I mean, dude, you built a $300 billion company and then freaking New York Times starts spreading. Like the New York, they didn't have to do this. They just, it's like they were bored. Again, if the story dies out and it's found that there's no real investigative evidence that Palantir is building this evil surveillance database, then the story is going to die out and it was going to be a hiccup, but it's still a pretty annoying hiccup that you have to deal with as a CEO. So the feel at AIPCon was great. The people were excited. People were energetic. I think it was my third or fourth AIPCon, so everyone enjoyed it. The after party was good. The customers were awesome. The interviews I have that you guys will see in the next week is, there were some really good interviews. Mike Gallagher, that podcast is being edited. Great podcast. I think that was one of the best podcasts that Mike Gallagher has ever done because I've seen his stuff, and I think you guys will love it. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it, even from a Palantir perspective. But the point is, the overhang on the conference was that the company is being attacked by the left and the right because everyone has these different conceptions about what they do. And so I think, and then Elon tweeted the Epstein thing in the middle of the conference, and so everyone was like, everyone was like, "Holy crap!" Like just the sentiment. You're walking around, you could tell everyone had just realized the bomb had been dropped on X, and it was between Elon and Trump. And then Tesla was down 15%. So I don't know why it wasn't live streamed this time. I think they were trying to do something a little bit different in terms of just like not doing it live, but like having a full-on recording. But to be honest, it's actually good it wasn't live, because if it was live, who would have cared on Thursday? Like genuinely, who would have cared about AIPCon live when Trump and Elon are having a falling out and Elon said that Trump is on the Epstein list? So I don't know why they didn't do it live, but for whatever reason they picked, it worked out, because I don't think anyone would have cared about AIPCon, which usually when they do it, like there's people that care that Palantir's having a conference. Like just no one would have cared about, no one cared about anything other than Elon and Trump. And so I guess it kind of worked out that they didn't go live. Usually they do an AIPCon 3 times a year. They've done it 2 times already. They usually have the next one in September. I don't know if they're going to do it again in September, but they usually do it 3 times a year. They have for the past 2 years. So, maybe they will do it again as well. What is your mom going to do with your room when you move? I don't know. We got to see. She told me today that we're going to start working on furniture in like a couple weeks. But so the moving out process and the Miami meetup, those are the next 2 big things I have to work on. And thankfully I'll be home for the next 2 months to like just focus on that stuff, but that's going to be the next main thing. And that's it. By the way, you guys know Meet Kevin's coming back to the Market Open. He tweeted today. He said, "Huge Meet Kevin news. Tomorrow's a big day and I would love your help. Tomorrow marks the return of a long market open all the way through market close and earnings live streams." So he's back, baby. He's back. I tweeted, "Excited for you to come back. You were the inspiration for me starting my own market open. I hope it brings you as much joy as it does to me every day." And that's true, dude. The only reason I started market open is because, Kevin was doing it for so long, and I kind of thought one day, hey, maybe I can do that. And then Kevin stopped for basically the past year, which kind of allowed everyone to want to find someone new, and that helped. But yeah, now he's back. I think in general, the issue I've always had with Kevin is that he just promotes too much shit. And like that really like hurts his brand, in my opinion, whether he acknowledges it or not. But I don't think he's bad at analyzing stocks or companies or all that stuff. Now, granted, he's been kind of wrong about this bull market for the past 2 years. And I think that has, at least to an extent, made people a bit skeptical. I mean, you're allowed to be wrong, but it's been 2 years and you've been net short or just cash on the sidelines. And it's been 2 years that have been back-to-back 20% years. He was right for about 3 days in April, and then we had a massive bull rally. So it's one of those things where it's like, how long are you going to be bearish? And then if he does turn bullish and the S&P's at 6,500, it's like you are jumping in a little bit when things are already, at all-time highs. So I don't know, but yeah, he is going to be back, and he will be doing market opens. Still waiting for you on Singapore. 2026 for sure. Singapore 2026 for sure. We'll be there. We will be there. 100% on the over promotion. Watch Kevin for years, but generally do prefer your style. Yeah, I just do the promotion stuff is just too much. It's like, people just don't want to be sold stuff in the morning. Starting a new in-person job tomorrow. No more market open and close. Wow, Uzi. What's the job, bro? What are you doing? That's cool, dude. First of all, congrats, man. That's awesome. You're gonna have to get your stock market news later in the day than when you're free. That is super dope. Any chance you're coming back to Toronto eventually? Definitely. I love T-Dot, bro. I love T-Dot. I love that city so much. But probably not this year. Most likely next year. Data scientists. All right. Really cool, bro. That means they're going to be working. You are going to be busy and working. So, yeah, that's awesome. More money to buy stocks. More money to buy stock. Again, dude, I think the next 5 years, it is going to be one of the most fantastic markets we have ever seen when it comes to the age of abundance in AI. And whatever money all of us can scrap together to deploy it in the markets, I think is important. I don't know if there's going to be a better time to invest than the next decade. Because to invest, you need growth and you need opportunities that create that growth. We had that with the internet. Obviously, the Industrial Revolution a long time ago, but there wasn't really a sophisticated public market that retail had access to. And then recovery from 2008, which we had the I guess you could call it the cloud computing and mobile revolution, which was also really important, right? You had AWS and Azure and the iPhone and all this stuff. But now we're talking about self-driving cars, freaking robots, LLMs that give an answer to any question. I mean, it's just a whole different, and it's the worst it's ever going to be right now. It's only going to get better. So that's why I do think the next 5 years is going to be incredible. The Houston meetup never happened because Houston is too large and I couldn't figure out where to do the meetup. And then I want to do Dallas and Austin, but they're like plane flights away from Houston. So when I do Texas in 2026, I'm going to figure out how to make it happen. But I didn't have time to figure it out. So that's why I did Boston. Boston was so simple. Boston was like 4 hours away. But we will do Texas. I just need a lot more time to plan that one to make it work. Waiting in South Carolina. Dude, I don't know if I ever go to South Carolina. My mom went to South Carolina a year ago. She has a friend down there. I know a couple people in South Carolina. It would be so fun to visit the South and just like do a trip around. I've been to Louisiana. I've never been to Mississippi. I've been to the New Orleans a couple times, but I would definitely love to see the South more. Dubai, dude, as much as I want to do Dubai, I think that's a whole nother challenge of just like getting everything ready for that. So I don't think that's 2026. That feels like more like 2027. I think Europe and Singapore is 2026. That is like, if I want to be actually realistic, I think those two are possible. And then maybe Dubai in 2027 as well. Miami meetup is a go. I'm working on details on that. That's going to be a big one. I know a lot of you guys are asking for it. So that's going to be, my sister might even come to that meetup as well. Because she wanted to kind of like see the vibe and everything. So I will let you guys know soon, but details will happen. Yes, Berlin, Germany. We got to do Germany. Yeah, there you go. My uncle's in the chat. He's going to help us with the meetup because I'm probably going to be crashing at his spot for like a week, maybe even 2 weeks. I'm probably going to go with my cousin who's in California and my sister who's in Jersey. All three of us are going to stay at his place for like 2 weeks. And the meetup will be like one weekend during those 2 weeks. And we just got to get a good spot that's public for the meetup. So Singapore will be really fun. I think Singapore is the third after US and Canada. Singapore is the third one in my YouTube analytics of people who watch. And you guys will love my uncle, dude. He is the life of the party. Like, this man can party, bro. Like, when he parties, he can party. So it's gonna be a fun time. And he's making a lot of money selling options. Like, he took the option selling bug and he ran with it. He was just like, holy crap, this is, because he's been in markets for like 20 years. But like, when you discover what it means to be able to make money off your shares or off your cash on the sidelines, it's really powerful. It's obviously dangerous. There's risk to it as well. I think it's less risky than actually buying options. And you have to be able to moderate it. But, if you have some money to work with, it's just very exciting. So, yeah, it'll be fun. I don't know if we'll do a Hawaii meetup. I just don't know if there's enough of you in Hawaii. I would love to go one day. That's the other reason I'm getting an apartment, dude. Like, I feel like every single month in 2025 is going to be traveling. And why would I pay freaking property taxes if I'm not even like, A, I don't want to have a massive down payment when that money could be used in the stock market. B, I don't want to be responsible for a property if I'm barely going to be there. So I feel like renting just makes so much more sense right now. And also, dude, like, can we get interest rates to come down? Like, I'm interested in a house if we can talk about like 5% interest rates, dude. Like 7.5. Like, what are we doing here, bro? Really? 7.5%? Like, we just need to get some of these rates down. Brand of the polo shirt. This is dude, I got this years ago. This is what's that? Oh, freak, it's this TJ Maxx, I think. I think it's TJ Maxx. I think it's TJ Maxx, something like that. That's what it is. I got this years ago, like 2018 or something. First time chatter. Hello to you. A lot of you guys have been first time in the chat. So thank you all for being here. Dude, Japan, I think we definitely have enough people to do a Tokyo meetup. And Japan is cool. Japan is really freaking cool. So I would love to do Japan. TJ Maxx is not a brand? What do you mean it's not a brand? TJ, man. TJ. Yes, look, this is Google search overviews, okay? Like, this is Google. Look, TJ Maxx is a brand, specifically an off-price department store chain operated by TJX companies. It's the AI said it's a brand, homie. It's the AI. It's a brand. Wisconsin, dude, we definitely got to do Wisconsin one day. Shout out to Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's really cool. There's some fun people that I know in Wisconsin. I think that would be fun to meet up there. The Bucks. I don't know if you guys are going to keep Giannis, but he might go to the Knicks, to be honest. He's kind of tired of being there. But yeah, Wisconsin. We got to do Wisconsin, bro. Got to do Wisconsin. What YouTube gear do you use? I use a Sony a6 400 and then MacBook Pro. M4 MacBook Pro, the most expensive one. I don't know what you call it, but it's the $4,000 MacBook. And then, my Sony. And then I use the Shure SMB, which is like $400. That's it. That's all I need. Giannis is coming. Giannis is not coming to Toronto, bro. He's a better chance of coming to the Knicks before Toronto. If he came to Toronto, that'd be wild. I don't think he's coming to Toronto. When you come to Australia, dude, I really want to do Australia. Australia is amazing. Aussie, just like that brand of Australia is like so cool to me. The accents are so cool. I would love to do Australia. It's really far from New York. Like, it's like one of the farthest flights outside of Singapore. And the market, like, because when I do these meetups, I still have to do the shows. And so the timing on the market open, market close is going to be egregious in Australia. So I'm going to have to figure out how I would navigate it. That's the hard part about traveling. It's like, to still do the show, you have to, figure out the time. Like when I went to India in October, dude, it was 7:30 and I was doing the market open, and it was just like, it was like wild to like, it's 7:30 at night, and I'm getting ready at 6 p.m., even though it's like 5 a.m. for you guys. So it was definitely a bit weird. I finally learned how you guys feel internationally when you tune into the show, because just the wonky time to be opening up the market. But we're definitely going to do it, dude. I think 2026 will be fun. 2025 has been a very blessed year. I've been super, super grateful for this entire year. We got 6 months left of the year. I do have some stuff I'm working on, dude. Some stuff I haven't talked about yet. Some fun stuff that I've been working on behind the scenes. And, you know, that stuff, I think over the next coming months will be pretty cool. Got some more podcasts on the way. There's some very important people that I think we'll be able to get on the pod in person. And so, yeah, I think this year will still be really fun, but I can't, dude. It's freaking June, bro. It's freaking June. Like, I cannot believe it is 6 months into the year, but it is like 6 freaking months into the year. Like, this year has flown. Like, I'm going to be 28 in freaking, dude, is this future show been 3 hours? Holy crap. I'm just putting in the chapter amid yapping so that people can know they don't need to listen to this part because it's just yapping. It's I'm going to be 28 in freaking 2 months, which is wild to me. Absolutely wild. Any thoughts on Chime? So I'm not buying it. I read Tanner's analysis on Twitter, which was really good. Tanner thinks Chime is a piece of shit. He didn't say that, but he said compared to SoFi, it's absolutely disgusting. I agree based on his analysis. Now, does that mean the stock's not going to pump? I don't know, because IPOs have gone really well. But the only reason I said I wanted to buy Circle is because I thought it would pump on crypto. And unfortunately, I didn't get my allocation, but it ended up working out. I have no thesis on Chime at all. Like, Circle to me was just obvious because crypto, stablecoins, whatever, and it worked. Now, does Circle deserve to be worth $25 billion? I have no clue, but I would have sold at 85. I would have missed the run up to 105. I don't care, but it would have been a good pump. Chime, I have no idea why it deserves to have a 50% move on its IPO day, which it probably doesn't. And Circle didn't either, technically, but like the momentum, you could tell. Chime, I don't know, bro. If it's going to pump, it's going to pump because it's just going to pump. But I can't give you a reason why it's going to pump outside of the market just wants to be more liquid in different names. Oh, yeah, true. It's not in 2 months. My birthday's in 4.5 months, October. But still, bro, 28 in 4.5 months, 2 years, I'll be 30, bro. That's crazy. When is my, okay, let's see if AI, when is October 27th in 2027, right? Yeah, 2027. Wednesday. It's a Wednesday. All right, so I will be on a market open turning 30 years old. That's wild, bro. That's kind of crazy. Like, that's going to be wild. Like, 30 years old on a Wednesday. Your birthday is October 21st? Okay, I love it. I'm a Scorpio. Scorpios get too much hate. But I love being a Scorpio. So all I'm saying is I'm not afraid to turn 30 or anything. I'm just saying, like, life's moving fast, you know? Like, this is the nature of what's going on. And I think, you know, one thing I am dealing with just personally, and, you know, this is just the nature of it, is like, as the brand is growing, it kind of reminds me of what I was doing when I was a little bit smaller and I wanted attention, is that people are going to come at you, bro. People are going to come at you. And there's a right way to do it. There's a wrong way to, like, there's one guy today makes like 7 posts about me. And I'm like on his profile, some random anonymous profile. I'm just like, this guy's like, is this a Joe from you? Like, well, he's obsessed with me and something. And then he comments under my Palantir post. And I finally just respond to him. I'm like, dude, I don't know who the hell you are, but here's my response. He thought that because I did an interview with Figure, I hate Tesla. And I'm like, no, like, I want both to succeed. So I finally just responded to him. I'm like, here, dude, like, you want the attention, here's the attention. Because, and he's explicitly saying, I don't care if he's a big account, I want a response from this guy. And I'm like, I think I did that once when I had like 50,000 followers in 2023 and Sawyer Merritt had like 600,000. And to my credit, Sawyer quote tweeted my tweet. And so then I responded to him and I wanted Sawyer to respond because the dude quote tweeted my tweet. And I was like, I want you to respond if you're going to quote tweet my tweet. But this guy just came out of nowhere, just accusing me of just like hating Tesla because I like Figure. And it's like multiple tweets back to back. I'm like, what is going on with this guy, dude? What he's obsessed about? And then it kind of hit me. I'm like, oh, he wants a response, because when I respond, it gives attention. And when it gives attention, that's how people, but like there's a way to do it in the right way and the wrong way. And I would hope over the past couple of years, any growth that I've had has been the right way to do it. Like when Brad Gerstner followed me, it's not because I'm annoying Brad Gerstner. Like, Brad, you should follow me. Look at all my analysis. Brad, you're liking my tweets on Robinhood. Look, I'm like, talk about Robinhood. You should follow. It's like, no, dude, naturally, if Brad wants to follow me, he'll follow me. And sure enough, a month ago, he followed me because the content was good enough for him to eventually be like, you know what, I want to follow this guy. So there's a natural way to eventually get, the brand to increase, not to freaking pester someone as much as he did. V says, I turned 50 an hour. Time flies. V, happy pre-birthday, man. 50 years old. That's a big one. I love it. Yeah, dude, time flies. Time flies. I'll be 30 in 2 years, 28 in 4 months. Like, it's, again, my thing about growing older is, and this is really I got from my mom. My dad's kind of more afraid of growing older. He doesn't like it. My mom is very like embrace the inevitability of it and accept it and welcome it with open arms, because none of us are escaping it, right? Like, dude, there was this let me see if I can pull this up. There was this thing kind of struck home for me today. This picture, bro. Yeah, look at this shit, bro. Look at this. Okay, so this right here, hell of an argument. Look at this shit. Brian Johnson is 47 and spends millions on procedures like facial fat injections, Botox, hair dye, and he looks 47. Theo Vaughn doesn't even look 45, and he's an alcoholic and a cocaine addict. Like, and it's not throwing shade at Brian Johnson. I actually respect what he's doing. I think he's trying to figure out how to optimize the human body to be as strong as it can. But the point is, the dude is like, you could argue missing out on like amazing life experiences when you're, with a bunch of family members and you don't want to have a drink because you need to like maintain your social score. And then you got Theo Vaughn, who's just like living his life, and he looks way younger than the guy, So I think there is a thing to say that like you embrace growing up and you don't obsess too much about it, because at the end of the day, all of us die. It is what it is. It happens. And one of the ways to avoid thinking about death is to live so much in the moment that, you're not that conscious of it. I mean, it is kind of crazy, right? That all of us inevitably are going to not be here. And it's one of those things in the back of our minds. Like, all of us know this at this point. I think most of us get conscious of death by the time we're at least like 20. Like, you have an understanding of it. Maybe you forget about it when you're a teenager, all this stuff. But like, it's in the back of our head. It's going to happen. And as scary and morbid as it is, it's also liberating, because it's like, what do? You can't complain about it. And maybe in the next couple of decades, maybe in the next century, we'll have something that's like really stop aging and people can live till 200, 300. But the average person lives to like 90, or like, I think it was like 85. Women live longer than men. But I think it's actually 74 or something like that. Whatever it is. All of us have to embrace it, because if you don't embrace it, you're just gonna be scared of it and overthinking it every day. And I think if you're overthinking it every day, then you forget about the fact that it's happening. But going back to what I was saying about the thing about getting bigger in terms of like growth in the brand, and what I'm learning right now is like, people are going to try to come at you because if you have a bigger account, naturally, they're going to want attention from you. And one thing I'm trying to like deal with more is like, I can't tweet like I used to tweet. Now, I'm going to try to keep the same authenticity of how I tweet, but I am thinking more about what I post, because it's going out to 200,000 people. And it's kind of hitting me now. It's like, dude, like, this is like, when you say something, people are going to see it. And so you have to be very careful with what you say. Like, if I'm interested in some random $10 million market cap penny stock and I tweet about it, that can have an impact. And I can't deny that, which is why I'm so scared when you guys bring up all these random stupid stocks. Cause I'm like, look, I'm happy for you, but like, when there's thousands of people watching the stream and you talk about it, that could have a material impact in terms of people buying or selling it. And then if I try to be objective and say, hey, maybe there's some headwinds that Tesla's facing, This post got 1 million views, bro. And the whole Tesla community, outside of like Farzad, who's a bit more reasonable than and Sawyer, is like, this guy's spreading FUD, yada yada. I'm like, dude, Elon literally reposted me a week ago talking about how much I loved FSD. And you're saying I'm spreading FUD. It's just like, but what am I supposed to do, right? Like, this is how people think. And it's just like, as your brand grows, it's like, you know, when people read what you have to say, they're gonna have it. That's the other thing I'm getting used to. You know, I have a thick skin, but not everyone's gonna like you. And you know, I know this very well. But the point is, as it grows, you're gonna have a lot more people that just don't like you, and they don't have to like you for whatever reason. They might like you because you point out some headwinds around Tesla, and you just have to deal with that. That people are just not gonna like you, and they're gonna try annoying you to get as many responses as you can. And it is what it is, you know. Mike Rodriguez says, you guys are so blind with Tesla, bro. Tesla's the best stock, hands down. You guys make stupid arguments. You all make no sense. Mike is holding on to his Tesla forever. That's a fact. Mike might be listening. Mike might be listening to Steve talk right now about Tesla. He might be all the way rewinded. He doesn't even know I'm bringing up his comment right now. Shout out to Mike. He's holding on to Tesla forever. But look, the point is, like, I think one thing I'm learning is that if the brand is going to keep growing, which obviously I want it to grow, there is a level of hate that is going to be inevitable. And it's a good thing because it means that there's enough people that care about you, and all you can do is do your truth, right? Like, I could have easily been like, dude, Tesla's the greatest thing in the world right now. There's no issues. It's going to be fine. The Elon Trump stuff is not an issue, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe Elon would have retweeted that tweet. And then boom, I would have got more attention because of Elon. But like, that's not authentic. Like, no, there are some issues with Tesla, and it's okay to analyze that. And maybe Elon doesn't want to follow me or like my stuff anymore because he sees that and he's like, oh, this guy doesn't like Tesla. It's like, whatever, dude. Like, but I'm not doing this for Elon retweets. Does it help? Sure. Of course it helps if the world's most influential man reposts your content. But that doesn't mean you become beholden to like saying only good things about Tesla, especially when I'm not even a bear, but I'm just trying to be objective about what's going on. And so it's one of those things where today I saw it in full-fledged. Like, you have a post, it goes viral, and you get a certain subsection of the community that just hates you for pointing out that there are some issues. And it is what it is. You kind of just got to navigate it. I think there's a difference between that and like being full-on FUD short, which is kind of, you know, this is also what Meet Kevin did over the past couple of years. Like, he became so emotional about it. He started attacking Elon personally and all this stuff. That's when you get into the Ross Gerbers of the world, right? And that's when it's just like, dude, like you're just not someone people can trust. But pointing out, you know, an objective issue that Tesla could be having, that's, if you can't talk about that, then I don't know what's even the point of talking about this. Be objective about Palantir, dude. I think I'm the most objective about Palantir. I genuinely do. I felt Palantir has been expensive since freaking $45. You got some Tesla bulls that still don't think it's getting an expensive, think it's cheap. It's like, okay, dude, if you think 200 times earnings is cheap for a company that's not growing, be my guest. I'm still telling you Tesla or Palantir is not cheap. I joke when I tell Steve that it's cheap to piss him off, but I think I'm the most objective about Palantir. I really do. I like, who's more objective about Palantir than me? I genuinely believe that. I have criticized Palantir in moments when they needed to be criticized, when sales and distribution weren't going well. I have criticized the valuation when I thought it got too expensive. Which I still think it's obviously incredibly expensive. I can justify the multiple, but I don't need to, hide away from the fact that the multiple is obviously expensive. And then when it comes to this database stuff, like if the answer is, oh, mate, you're not being objective because the New York Times is saying something true, it's like, no, they're not. They're just not. And if that's the case, then tell me what the truth is. Give me the evidence, and then we'll debate it. But based on my research, based on the people that I've talked to, based on everything I've learned about the company, the New York Times is full of shit. And that's not being biased towards Palantir. It's just true, bro. It's like they are saying Palantir is creating a database to surveil all Americans for what? No one knows why. People are just saying they want to surveil Americans because it's a juicy story. They don't have any evidence for it. And if they did, then I would analyze it, but they don't. And if someone does, DM me the evidence that you think there is the case. Like, let me know. Amit, do you have a single issue with Karp? Look, I am a big fan of Karp, obviously. I would say, and I said this in brief before, when Karp gets on some of his philosophical rants, that makes it hard for the average person to understand, which he has done a good job of not doing that. Like, he's been really good on these public appearances now. I've critiqued him many times. I mean, listen to all the live streams I've done of him when I say, hey, this part was good, this part was like, I'm analyzing him from an even debate communication perspective. Now the raunchy jokes and, Carp made a sex jokes the other day and he related it to customers and getting effed versus getting laid. Like, I like that stuff. Now you don't have to, I can understand objectively why people don't like that stuff. I personally, that's the reason I invest. I love when he makes these rhetorical forms of analysis that captures people's attention. I think that's just good for people actually caring about the stock and for what Palantir does. But I also like that he has a backbone. You might not agree that with his political beliefs, but I don't agree with every political belief he has either. Like, he's self-described as a socialist progressive. Like, I don't agree with that. I believe way more in Peter Thiel's version of capitalism than Karp's. But Karp also understands how to communicate. He believes in free speech. He believes in all these other sort of now seeming like traditional liberal values that I think I can say I don't agree with everything he believes in politically, but I do agree with the fact that he's unapologetic about communicating his political beliefs, which most CEOs will know. Sundar Pichai is never going to tell you about his political beliefs. Karp will, and Karp is not going to care about what happens to the stock if he does, which ironically would actually make people, we've seen evidence, want to buy the stock because they want to buy in someone that has a backbone. So, like, do I have issues with Karp? Not in a meaningful sense, because Karp has not given me a reason to have an issue with them, but that doesn't mean I'm not objective about Palantir. I really don't think that's the case. Bro thinks you're just a pumper, proving they don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, like, the people definitely think I'm just pumping Palantir, but they just don't know the history of, the past 5 years of analyzing Palantir. Let's do an all-nighter stream. One dude in the new apartment, we're going to do it. We're definitely going to do it. Sachin just posted his Tesla thoughts, very high risk. I mean, yeah, it is. This is what I was trying to say today on Twitter. But all the, all the Tesla bulls want to get upset. And not all of them, but a subset of them are just like one guy, I spoke to a bunch of people who are thinking of selling their Tesla. And one guy was like, well, there's 10 million Tesla shareholders. If you divide that by 10 and then take a percentage of that, how many did you talk to? And I'm like, yo, what the hell is wrong with you? You think I spoke to 10,000 people? Like, I need to speak to 10,000 people to say, hey, the stock going from 370 to 290 kind of means maybe the sentiment's shifting a little bit. And he was like, yeah, you need to speak to more people. And I'm like, okay, buddy. Like, if that's your objective analysis, that you need to speak to thousands of people to have a sample size, like, be my guest. But if you look at the hundreds of comments that are pretty 50-50 under my post by Tesla bulls themselves, I mean, go read the comments if you don't believe me, then I don't think needing to interview 10,000 people. And what type of barrier to entry is that? To talk about Tesla and the sentiment, you need to talk to 10,000 people. Like, what are you talking about, bro? This is the type of perma bull nonsense that I'm like, these guys are, what are they saying? Like, but then I realize also they're smaller accounts and they want to get attention and they want to say something controversial. And it's something I'm learning how to deal with. Like, trust me, I've not responded to way more than I've responded to, simply because I know that if I respond, it's going to create more attention. And like, sometimes the smartest thing to do, some of the dumbest tweets I've had on Twitter are responding to someone saying something really dumb and bringing it more attention. And it's like, oh, wait, if I didn't respond to this, there would be no attention because this post doesn't have any attention. There's no one who cares about it. But if I enter in, it's just the nature of what's happening right here. It's going to have more attention. And as a media personality, like, I want to be very conscious of that. It's like that. Remember last week when one of the Whole Mars blog that he's a Tesla bull, he was doing a Spaces with Palantir and he invited me to be on, and I said no because he's doing it with some AI company, some I don't know, some stock market AI tool or whatever, which is obviously sponsored by the stock market tool. He didn't tell me that was the case. And he said, hey, you should come on. And I'm like, well, I'm going to bring a Palantir audience to the Spaces that's sponsored by some AI stock market tool, which is bringing way more attention to this space than I'm getting. Number one. Number two, I'm bringing attention to some stupid stock market tool that I know nothing about because you're probably sponsored, even though you're not admitting that it's sponsored. So why would I spend my time building up some other brand that I don't know about that's probably charging $20 a month for some stupid shit that ChatGPT can do? And it's like, like now if I had like 10,000 followers, I would have taken that opportunity because that's a big Spaces. But when you have 200, it's like, dude, you're bringing a lot of, because like now people are following what you're doing. And when you're bringing that attention and then they go check out that brand and they start paying for this brand that has no relevance. Like, and I don't even like promoting brands. You guys know that. Like, I just have to be super conscious is what I'm trying to say. And that means responding to people that, might be throwing shade at you. It's like you respond to the ones that actually matter. But what I'm trying to get at, there will be a lot more hate coming my way. I can just tell. Like, I can just tell at this point. There's just, as the account grows, it's just the nature of what it is. I mean, I can't even imagine Elon, bro. 250 million followers. As soon as he tweets something, it's probably hundreds of thousands of replies that are just calling him an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Like, the amount of shit he must see in his responses is insanity. And I think you either stop growing or you embrace it. And I don't want to stop growing. I want to embrace it. And I want to keep my authenticity at its core. I want to keep my core audience at the core. I want to know that I'm doing right by you guys. And whenever you guys say I'm doing wrong, or it's going in my head, or something's going on with the power dynamic, that's when I take it seriously. And you guys, I mean the chat, because you guys are the chat is the most, I guess, intimate form of audience that I have. The people that are actually listening live, And I do care about what you guys think. That doesn't mean that what you guys say needs to affect, every part of how I perceive myself. But genuinely, you are the people that have been been here for years. And so, if I buy a Rolex and I start, flexing the Rolex, and you guys have an issue with that, I'm going to tell, you guys are there will be signs, and I'll know you guys will realize I'm losing my humility. A, I'm never buying the Rolex, but B, this is my point. I need you guys to keep me in check always. The chat will clown you. The day you guys stop making fun of me is the day I know that something has happened. Yeah, if I get see, dude, when Meet Kevin bought the private jet, I think his core audience tried to tell him, dude, stop. You don't need this. And he said, screw you, I don't care. And now he has the jet. He has 7 kids. I don't know how the hell this guy's affording his lifestyle, but I wish him the best. I want him to do well. But dude, it's just a jet, really? A jet, yes, just don't buy the Saratoga. If I start buying the Saratoga, that's when we got an issue. That's when we got an issue. Watches are a good investment, though. That is fair. Watches absolutely are good. I just personally would never wear a Rolex. But watches are not a bad investment. Amit hasn't tried selling us anything other than well done steak and first of all, it's medium well. Okay, not well done, not crazy. And then High School Musical it's a good movie. Dude, I left my leather jacket in DC. I left it at the Airbnb. I left it. Also, I tried to return the $115 pants. Lady was like, you can't return this. She took the other 2 things though, but she was like, yeah, you wore this. I was like, yeah, I wore this. She was like, you can't return this. I was like, all right, it is what it is. So now I'm the proud owner of $115 Lululemon pants, bro. And so I'm going to be wearing those pants as much as, dude, $115 pants. I got to wear those pants. I got to wear those pants now. So it is what it is. It is what it is. She was like, yeah, you can't do it. I didn't even fight it. I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, I feel you, dude. I did wear them the whole day. I was like, they probably don't want to take it back. It is what it is. Now you're invested. Yeah, now I need, Lululemon is down 30%. I feel like I have to look at it a little bit more. But anyway, my point is, I think as the brand grows, there's going to be more hate. It's inevitable. You have to deal with it. And I don't want to lose myself. It's funny. I don't have any tattoos, but I do want to, I don't know. I'm kind of split on tattoos. I want to get tattoos because I have some meaningful ideas that I think would be nice to live on my body forever. But at the same time, I'm like, do I really want to have a permanent thing on my arm or something? I think I probably won't end up getting tattoos, but if I could tattoo one thing or 2 words on my arm or something, it's going to sound like it's from freaking Pinterest, dude, but I would tattoo, and maybe not in these exact words, maybe I would find a quote or something to make it make sense, but humility and gratitude. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but I genuinely believe the reason that a kid who went from 0 to whatever this has turned into, I genuinely believe the reason that this has happened is because of humility and gratitude. A lot of the reason that people want to talk to me, a lot of the reason that I've been able to get these podcasts, a lot of the reason that I've been able to meet people like Derek in my life, who's given me so many opportunities, is just based on the idea of being humble and being grateful. That's it. That's it. Because there's nothing else I have to offer other than, my content skills, which have, it's taken 4 or 5 years to get really decent at doing this, but you don't have anything to offer other than, being a good person. And I think everything that's good that has happened in my life has been because, people just want to be part of something that's authentic and real. And I think as soon as you go the selling the course route and the private Discord and all that shit, like you lose all that shit immediately. And that's the number one thing I care about not losing. Because as you grow older, like again, and not even grow older, as the brand gets bigger, I think the fear of it getting to your head and the lack of humility in terms of, hey, I've built something so big, therefore I deserve all the respect, yada, and having that sort of arrogant cockiness, I think it's very hard to escape that unless you make an active attempt to not fall into that trap. Like, it's tough, dude. There's very few, like Derek, for example. Derek is the one example of someone I know who is so humble and so freaking rich. Like, so humble and so rich at the same time. And you guys don't know about all the money Derek gives away. Like, you guys have heard of what Derek has been done for me in super chats or whatever. And obviously he's gotten me into some of these private deals, which is life-changing. He's given me lots of shares. And dude, Derek gave me more shares than he gave his family members in his new startup. He gave me 270,000 shares in his startup. 270,000 shares in his startup. More kids. I got the cap, dude. I'm looking on the Carta. Carta is an app that shows the cap table. I am literally number 7 on the cap table in terms of ownership of this startup. Me. Just me. And the reason for that is because of the genuine friendship and connection we've created. And more importantly, he sees a version of himself and me at a younger age, and he wants to pay it forward. But he does a lot more charity, like a real charity, in terms of, he lives in a very nice community. There's a lot of immigrant workers. Like the amount of money he gives out. And that to me is like, if someone can be so rich but so humble, it's hard to find that. You get a lot of people that get rich and they don't give back. Or they give back through some freaking nonprofit where they get a tax deduction and all this stuff. Like, Derek gets nothing from giving me those shares. In fact, some of those shares are probably his shares they don't really are his shares, because where else is he going to get them from? There's not any employee pool that he gives to me because I'm not an employee. So he has to literally take it out of his stake to give it to family and friends. And for someone to be that humble about it, dude, it's like that's the model of what I want to live up to. But he's rare. Most people don't do that. You gave that lady $100. Yes, I gave that lady $100, and I gave another 75 to someone else before I left the area, because I had $200 in my wallet. So, just like I don't even know how I had $200 in my wallet because I don't have cash. I guess I took it from somewhere as I was going on the trip, because I was like, oh, maybe I'll need some cash. But I never ended up using the cash because I freaking used the Robinhood Gold card for everything. So on the last day of the trip, I already gave out the $100 on Wednesday. On the Friday, I saw I had 75 left. I was like, all right, I'm giving it out. Because I'm like, dude, Robinhood was hitting 77.50. I was up like, I don't know, I was up like 50 grand on Friday or something. I was like, dude, this $75, does it make a difference of me having the 75, or can someone who's on the street, I think I gave it to someone who's on the street, could they use it more? And that the essence of that, I don't want to leave. Or the essence of that, I don't want to ever, escape, because I think that's the reason I'm here. It's pure humility and gratitude. And, right now it's okay. I can give out $200. In the future, I want it to be, can I give out 2,000, 20,000, 200,000? Like, can I really get enough wealth? Which is this whole kind of, you have to be selfish to be selfless concept. Like, the more selfish you are in pursuing your own wealth, the more selfless you can be in the future, because you actually have the money to give away. A lot of people don't recognize that. You got to build your own wealth to be able to give it away. Like, I can't give out $200 if I'm not making more than $200, because I might really need that $200. Like 4 years ago, I couldn't give out $200. I really needed it. I was broke. And so there is a level of, I think, capitalism where you have to be so obsessed with yourself and building your own brand. And then, but in the process of that, you can't lose yourself, even if, you like mom spaghetti, because you still need to be able to give back to the rest of the world. And I think that's very important as well. What do you think about the AI ROIPO? I haven't looked at the S1, but it's a drone company. I think it'll pump just on the sort of drone hype, but I'm probably not buying it, because I just don't know enough about the company. Thank you for everyone who got the M&M reference. This is Lose Yourselves, Mom Spaghetti. That was the reference. Okay, thank you, RNT. For getting the reference. Would you get Martin back on the live? That interview was great. So it's funny you bring this up. So that video, guys, has 45,000 views on my channel. I did not know people cared that much about Martin Shkreli. But, you know, this is what I mean by getting hate. Like there was a bunch of people, I would say it's like 5% of people out of the 95% that liked it that were like, how could you talk to this guy? He did this, he did that, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, he went to jail. He did his time. Who am I? I'm not God. I'm not going to judge this guy and have an opinion about it and say he's the worst person in the world. I care about the stock market. I don't care about all the other things he did in his past. Because if I cared about what everyone did in their past, I would never be able to talk to anybody. I've done some pretty bad things in my past as well. Now maybe I didn't do some objectively bad things like Shkreli and so, but he went to jail. He served his time. Like what? You want this guy to have the death penalty or something? He faced his crime based on what the courts decided. And so if I want to have a conversation with a guy and people like, Amit, I have no respect for you. How could you talk to this guy? I'm like, I'm just gonna have to take that. I'm like, all right, dude, if you want to unsubscribe, because go ahead. But you can't shut off a conversation, especially, we're not talking about anything super deep other than stocks. And I'm curious what the guy thinks about stocks because he's into the markets. But, if we're not going to have conversations, then what's even the point of this? So that's what I mean. It's like you're going to face that type of hate from people that just like, because it's like when something gets 40,000 views, there's going to be some people that just don't like it, right? They're going to have conflicting opinions. And the best I can do is take them with grace and move on. But, one thing I never want to do is respond to a comment and be like, well, you're stupid. You don't understand what's going on. I might think that. But then when you actually put that out in writing, it makes you look like a bully. That's another thing I've noticed, dude. Another thing I've noticed is now with the account getting bigger, on Twitter, people dunk on people. I can't really dunk on people, bro, because it looks like bullying. Like you could do that when you're younger or when you have a smaller account. But if you quote tweet someone and try to you know what I mean by dunking, right? Like you have a smart, witty remark. Unless the other person is as big as you when it comes to their account size, it literally looks like you're bullying someone. Because you're just bringing so much attention to this person, and it's obviously negative attention, even if it's in a playful way, but it's negative if you're dunking on them. So it's one of those things where it's like you just can't I don't sleep well at night knowing I did that to someone, even if it's funny, unless it's like a really good friend like Nate. Nate, I got to dunk on Nate all the time. But outside of that, I just think I have to be more conscious of it. That's all. What bad things did you do in your past? I mean, just like speaking in generally, right? Like everyone's done bad things in their past. I didn't raise the prices on drugs by like 10,000% and then go to jail for it, but everyone's done bad things. I'm sure there's some objective things I've done that are bad. I don't know, but like I've done some things, I broke a lot of hearts. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just it is what it is, broke some hearts in the past. That's also, I guess you could qualify that as bad. So you didn't go for jail. Dude, I don't even know why. He went to jail for securities fraud, right? Yeah. See, dude, he went to jail for a white collar crime. He didn't even go to jail for the drug stuff. So it's like, come on, bro. Like, really? We can't talk to the guy who, I think that's more interesting talking to a guy who went to jail for securities fraud about securities. I think that's even more interesting. Taking a few things to the grave. Dude, I don't know on the top of my head, but I'm sure there's things that we've all done in our past that are not good things. That doesn't mean we should be not qualified to speak, about things. And so securities fraud, is that a bad thing? Yes. Does that mean he doesn't deserve to have an opinion anymore? No, I think that's weird. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Barbie doll heart does not count. That's what I'm saying. This is how you keep me humble, bro. Yo, Peter Schiff was wild this weekend, bro. I'm not even going to get into it, but if you know, you know. Peter Schiff, the gold guy over the big, I'm not even talking about it, but if you look up what he was saying over the weekend, you will get into a little bit of a rabbit hole that you probably don't even want to get into. So, yeah, Peter Schiff was even the way he said it, bro, it's just it was so stupid, bro. It's like, you just don't say that stuff. And he did. And it was kind of dumb. But that's what I'm saying. Dude, the guy has millions of followers and he said what he said. I'm like, am I the only one that's kind of conscious of the fact that when you say something, people will see it and you have to deal with the ramifications of it? Because he obviously did it. Yeah, no all-in pod. Yep. I agree with you, Martin. Those guys, they cowered it out this week. Absolutely were cowards this week by not actually addressing the issues. And I get it. It's a really complicated thing to address, but that's the whole point of the podcast, right? You have to take these issues head on. They couldn't talk about it. They had too many conflicting beliefs here. What's your plan for Misty? I'm just gonna leave it. I think I have 500 shares now of Misty. I have another 250, so I'll leave it for like another month or two, maybe get to 1,000. But Misty, it's just an experiment to see how it plays out. I want to buy more Hood, bro. If we fall below 65, I want to buy more Hood. Or if we fall anywhere in that 65 range, I think I want to buy more Hood. I think if the S&P thing is going to happen, even if it didn't happen this time, and their June event for crypto is going to be super bullish. So Hood and Nvidia are my top 2 buys still right now. And so I would want to be adding more. At least you aren't burning cars in LA. Yeah. Dude, I don't know enough about Lilly, but I think the company is a very sophisticated company, and they're probably the best out of the pharmaceuticals. I just don't know enough about them. I've really got to do more DD. Quite frankly, I don't care that much about biopharma and stuff, so I've never really spent time looking into it. But I don't know if Lilly's a buy at these levels. I do know in 5 years, Lilly's probably a much bigger company than it is today. I just really don't know if it's cheap, if it's not cheap. What is really their growth, drug pipeline, all that stuff is, I have to go deeper. Hey, Mitt, I know about your biotech trauma, but would you be open in the future discussing a biotech play if it works out for me? Yeah, for sure. Message me on Twitter. If there's something good that works out, let me know. Is D-Wave still a scam? Oh, don't we have Tess on tomorrow? Yeah, we have Tess on tomorrow. Tomorrow's the market close. So Tess will be on tomorrow, and she'll be discussing D-Wave and Quantum and the bull case. So, Screlly thinks it's a scam, but we'll see what Tess has to say as well. ASTS most likely Wednesday night. I'm trying to get a team of people, and Wednesday night we'll talk about it. So I think Sam, Chris, and another person and I will do that stream. That'll be good on Wednesday. Do you think it's a scam? I don't think it's a scam. I just think it's obviously expensive, and this is why I want Tess on to kind of break down the quantum bull case to see, look, Palantir's expensive as well, but people are buying it because they believe in Palantir's growth. I don't think D-Wave's a scam. I think, hey, it's expensive. I want to get a rundown on quantum to say, do I want to buy into that expensive valuation because I believe in future growth? Tesla's expensive. People are buying into it, right? So I think that's the debate. Now, Screlly thinks it's a scam. He's been wrong badly. I don't know if he's going to be right. Maybe he'll be right. We'll find out over the coming years, but I don't think it's a scam. I don't understand quantum, and I think the valuation's aggressive, and I think we need to have a good bull case on it to understand if the valuation's reasonable to pay, because the growth should be, so monumental if you're paying this high of a number. We do have the Apple thing tomorrow, so the Apple thing tomorrow might be something I stream. As long as they don't shut it down, I think we should be able to stream Apple. So that should be fun. And I don't expect Apple to do anything exciting because it's freaking Apple. Tesla right here, 294. Robinhood, 7130. Apple's at 204. It's up a little bit. We're going to see what Apple can do. Oh, Grab's up a little bit, 523. Dude, my conviction on Grab is growing so much. I really do think they're going to break out. I think that Indonesian news on Friday that we got, it was super bullish. I think the toots are just accumulating, and it's going to be time. It's got to break over 6. Breaking over 6 will really start to get people paying attention to it. But I think that one's going to happen. That'll be a fun one. We're going for the hat trick on Grab, dude. And look, I will be a man, and if it doesn't work out, I will say I got this one wrong. But I think if we give it the next 18 to 24 months, it actually does perform. And this would be the third one after Palantir and Hood. Let's see if they can do it. I think it'll be fun. I think it would really be fun to see. This one would be a rewarding one because the third one is you have to do a lot more work to find the third one. And then, it's going through the same period that Palantir and Hood went. It was stuck in purgatory for months. And once it breaks out, it's just cool, to see it break out and for the contrarian opinion to end up being right. But I think we got to give that a little bit more time. Palantir right here, 128. Where's the S&P after hours? Robinhood 7137. Palantir 128. S&P is at 5. 597.85, so slightly down after hours. All right, cool. Should I end the stream? It's been like 4 hours. I think I missed you guys too much from the future stream and not doing the market close. And so that's why this was a long one. But we'll be back tomorrow. Market open, market close. Is this live? I thought it ended after Steve left. Yes, this is live. Dude, I love this shit. I love doing it, dude. I love doing it every day. I love doing it every day. It's just, it is what it is. It's what I love to do. I'm just so grateful every day for people to care and for us to do it and be consistent and serve as background noise for everybody. But yeah, I'm excited to be back in the studio. Do it every day. I'm bricked up. You know, we got the bricks here, so I'm very happy about that. And we got to get back to work. Uzi, shout out to you on the new job, man. We'll miss you on the market open. Hopefully you can tune in whenever you get a chance. Realistic 18-month price target for grab. Okay, look, my bull case is 10. Realistic, I think, is 750. But again, I do think 10 is possible. Now, again, people say, well, why would I care if it goes from 5 to 750? If you're in the options, 5 to 750 is a big move. So, and if 5 to 10 is a really big move if you're in options. But there are plenty of other opportunities. Hood, NVIDIA. I mean, there's so many other opportunities from grab. So no one needs to get into grab because I'm in grab. I do think it's asymmetric, a double in the next 18 months because my bull case is 10. It's not easy to get a double in the next 18 months. It's going to be hard. But, you know, I think anywhere near 10 would be a pretty good return if we get there over the next 24 months. All right. I think that's it. I think that is it. Test will be on tomorrow on the market close. We will talk quantum and we will get that bull case. And when will AK Media talk to Jensen? Hopefully, dude. I'm pulling some strings behind the scenes. I'm not saying I'm going to get Jensen, but I'm working overtime. I'm trying to get some bigger names on the channel. And I can't promise anything, but I do think moving out is going to be productive to accelerate that timeline. One good thing about the brand growing is that now when you're talking to all these PR people, you're like, hey, look, you know, there's a relatively sizable audience that a Jensen would be able to get exposure to. And that's all they care about. You know, if you're Jensen's PR guy, all you care about is, hey, is Jensen wasting his time? Because his time is obviously very valuable. And so, you know, if he's going to give you an hour, is that hour going to be a good ROI in terms of the attention that the interview would get? And, you know, when you have some bigger numbers, it's just easier to make the argument that, yeah, that would be the case. So that's what we have to do. And yes, I did freaking leave the leather jacket in DC. I left it in remember the Airbnb when I was super late and I had the flight on the day I didn't think I had the flight on? I had to pack up so quickly that I forgot the jacket. So the jacket is stuck in DC. We're gonna have to get a new one. We'll have to get a new one. Tell Sundar to monetize. Dude, I feel like I should be. Dude, Sundar is doing so many podcasts. I feel like I need to make a serious attempt to reach out to Google and be like, guys, like, let me talk to Sundar. Because like he's obviously doing so many podcasts. I'm like, I think they might be open to it. And so if that's the case, then I might have to fly out to California to do it. But that would be super cool. That would be super cool to do it. Did you get robbed for your jacket again? Did not get robbed, dude. I gave him the Scarface jacket because he said he liked Scarface. For those that don't know the story, it's funny because it was in DC. It was in DC in December. I'm at the freaking train station. So a homeless guy walks up to me. He wanted some food, bought him some food. And then I was wearing the Scarface jacket. He starts talking about the freaking Scarface movie. I don't even care about the movie. And, you know, he started quoting me lines from the movie. And I was like, yo, dude, you want the jacket? And he's like, no, I can't take the jacket. I was like, no, dude, just take the jacket. I was like, just take the freaking jacket. Now, when I tell you this story, it was so funny, bro. This is how I know you guys will keep me humble. It's like, I'm telling the story out of like goodwill. Every comment, as soon as I say, I gave the guy the Scarface jacket, oh, Amit got robbed. And I'm like, how could you possibly conclude that? And then I realized how you can conclude that. Because you guys are you. Because you guys are you. That's how you can conclude that. And I'm like, there's no way 20 comments at the same time come in and say Amit got robbed. But that was the reaction. It was hilarious, bro. So no, this one didn't get robbed. I freaking left the jacket in the Airbnb. But it's funny to think I got robbed. Oh, shout out to Apple, dude. So my AirPods, I told you guys, this is why I need like a time limit. See, I just think of shit to say, and then it just like it turns into a longer stream for like it's insane. But I still have to say this. So I can't end the stream, dude. I my AirPods stopped working before I went to DC. So before I left DC to go to AFPCon, I bought a pair of $600 Apple headphones from the DC Apple store, and then they started working, right? Because they were good headphones. And then I just went to return it yesterday. And then I went to the Genius Bar to be like, hey, like what, like, why is my other headphones not working? And to my surprise, they said, hey, we're going to send it out to support. And if they can't fix it, you're going to get a brand new pair for free. And I was like, what? Apple giving a pair of headphones for free? Could not believe that. Could not believe that. So shout out to Apple, bro. Like, I really didn't expect them. Now, granted, my headphones were under the warranty, but still, usually under the warranty, they make you pay some subsidized price. They're like, no, you'll get a new one for free if it doesn't work in 3 to 5 days. I was like, damn, that's a hell of a deal. Is Tim cooking? Yeah, dude. I was really impressed, bro. I did not expect Apple. I expected them to be like, you got to pay at least $200 or whatever, but they gave it to them for free. So shout out to Apple. I'll get my headphones in the next couple days and no, hold on. All right, this is the last thing I got to show you guys. Dude, my friend just sent me this. This is the funniest shit I've seen in my life, bro. I hate you. Whoever sent this to me, you're probably watching. I hate you so much. I hate you so much, dude. This is. They just texted me. They said, "Amit, this is what you're doing right now." Dude, I hate you so much. This is so stupidly accurate that it's insanity, bro. This is actually what I'm doing right now. And it's like it's going to be hard to top this one, bro. For those that are just listening, it's a guy talking to bricks and no one's listening because he's just talking to bricks. I got to recreate this. Yo, dude, I literally got to, I recreate this every single day, basically. It's just the front of the camera. That's hilarious. That's a good one. That's a good one, bro. I can't even lie. That's a good one. All right. I think I'm ending it out. That's it. I'm waking up early tomorrow. Going to try to hit the gym. I realize if I don't hit the gym in the morning, it's going to be hard to hit during the day. So goal is hit the gym in the morning. And yeah, we'll do the market open as usual. Sure, we'll have plenty of things to discuss throughout the day. We'll have Tess on in the afternoon. We'll have Apple on. Hopefully, if they don't shut down the stream at like 1 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll keep going from there. I did not return the pant I wore. Lululemon did not let me. The lady pointed to the stock. She was like, we can't take any returns. The stock is down too much. So, no, I'm just kidding. They didn't let me return it. But they let me return like the shirt that I didn't use. So, at least I got to return that. All right, cool. That's it. Thank everybody. Appreciate you all. Love you all. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the future stream. Not every future stream will be 4 hours, but it's been 2 weeks or been a week since we did the market close every single day. So had to come back. I'll try to do the Apple stream tomorrow. If they shut it down, then it is what it is. It's going to be annoying, but hopefully they don't. That's the joke you're ending the stream. Yo, Jose, we need to have you on this week. We need to talk about Broadcom. I think we have some other semis that are reporting today, so we'll have Jose on this week as well. And we'll get his thoughts on everything going on. A Lulu joke. Yes, a Lulu joke. I'm going to look at the stock, dude. Down 20%. Maybe there's a thesis there. We'll look at it. We'll see if there's any multiple that's worth analyzing on this one. All right, cool. That's it. Thank you, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow. Market open, 8:45 a.m. as usual. And we'll keep going from there. Bye, everyone. Appreciate it. Good night. We'll be back in the studio for the next 3 months, every single day, 2 times a day. Market open, market close. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.